To protect the campus belle Shin Yue, her childhood friend was overpowered and assaulted by 8 thugs. Jiang's parents wept with joy, as if they had finally sold a defective piece of inventory at a premium price. When the police found him, his entire pants were soaked in blood. Only Jiang Yanxi's face was deathly pale, with red-rimmed eyes. He stared at me with bitter resentment. The once arrogant young master became a laughingstock, ridiculed by all. Even the campus belle who had promised to repay his kindness now avoided him at all costs. He uttered the only line he spoke the entire wedding banquet, "And Jia, you will never measure up to Yue, brother Yanxi. People keep asking me if you can still be a man. I really don't want to answer these questions and hurt you, so I have no choice but to stay away." Shin Yue, the unwavering love of his life. I was the only one who defied the gossip and, honoring the old family pact, married him without a second thought. That day, Shin Yue was cornered by a gang of thugs in an alley. I hid at the entrance, snapped a photo, and sent it to Jiang Yanxi with the message, "Your sweetheart's in trouble, get here now." On our wedding day, he said to me in front of everyone, "The love of youth is always a reckless, impulsive force. Even if I'm forced to marry you, you'll never measure up to Shin Yue." Jiang Yanxi charged into the alley alone, spoiled and used to getting his way. He had no sense of the danger. Everyone mocked me as a lovesick fool, hopelessly devoted to Jiang Yanxi with no self-respect. Even when beaten down to his knees in that humiliating predicament, he still shouted with undaunted bravado, "If you've got a problem, take it out on me. Don't you dare bully a girl." Seriously, who said I was here to love him? So, those thugs, laughing and jeering, groped his handsome, delicate face and then truly set upon him. That very night, I locked him in the basement and made him watch that little film of him and his thug friends on a loop. In the span of mere seconds, Jiang Yanxi went from feigning a rough, cursing bravado, to cowardly pleading for mercy, and finally to utterly broken, wretched screams. By the time the police arrived, Jiang Yanxi was ruined, broken both physically and mentally. At the wedding, I knelt on one knee with a look of utter devotion. The doctors said he had a massive infection, with no other choice. They had to perform an ostomy. He would have to live the rest of his life with a colostomy bag. She slipped the ring, a symbol of love, onto the ring finger of Jiang Yanxi's left hand as he sat in his wheelchair. Shin Yue, the damsel he had just heroically rescued, was promising her parents mere moments ago that she would take care of Jiang Yanxi for the rest of her life. "Yanxi, from this day forward, for better or for worse, for richer or for poorer, in sickness and in health, I will be true to you. I will never forsake you." The very next second, upon hearing the devastating news, she made a gagging sound and bolted for the bathroom. Thunderous applause filled the room, punctuated by a few faint, mocking snickers. The Jiang parents, who had always been cold and dismissive towards me, suddenly became overly affectionate. "Jia, our Yanxi only has you now. You've liked him since you were little. You wouldn't look down on him now, right?" To be honest, we had already decided long ago that you would be our Jiang family's one and only daughter-in-law. With red-rimmed eyes and a deeply moved expression, I fought back laughter so hard my stomach hurt. "Auntie, uncle, please don't say such things. My love for Yanxi isn't that shallow. No matter what happens to him, I will always love him. So, let's get married." The thought of seeing Jiang Yanxi's miserable, half-dead look every single day from now on fills me with absolute delight. So, when Jiang Yanxi said I wasn't as good as Shin Yue, I magnanimously reached out and touched his cold, trembling cheek. "It's fine," I said. "Shin Yue doesn't have you. I do, and that's enough for me." 2. As the wedding was drawing to a close, Shin Yue appeared gracefully, wearing a gown that looked even more bridal than my own wedding dress. Holding back tears, she tried her best to play the part of a critical yet well-meaning senior. "Anja, I'm only giving him up to you so that brother Yanxi can have a better life. You must always remember, the title of Mrs. Jiang is something you fought hard to snatch away, so, you have to do better than I ever did." Those words left Jiang Yanxi trembling all over, as he gazed at Shin Yue with a look of deep affection and timidity. I wish I could pour out all my love without a second thought. He never would have imagined that during his hospital stay, behind Shin Yue's earnest visits each time, was a sum of money from his own parents. "My family isn't well off, but I'm their only daughter. My parents would absolutely never allow me to marry a disabled man. With all the gossip about brother Yanxi at school, I'm taking a risk by visiting him every day. My parents say I'd be better off spending this time working to help out with the family expenses." Facing the Jiang parents, Shin Yue's words were as cold and detached as an unfeeling AI. But for the sake of their son, what else could they do? They could only force a smile and offer money. It's just about keeping him company. It's not like we're asking you to change his diapers. Think of it as a job. The pay is negotiable, and the Jiang family will take care of anything you need in the future. So how could she possibly refuse? On one hand, she had to quell her own resentment at being unable to marry into wealth, all because Jiang Yanxi was such a disappointment. On the other hand, she wanted to spite me and ensure Jiang Yanxi could never forget her. As long as Jiang Yanxi couldn't forget her, she would always have a profitable foothold in the Jiang family. Seeing my silence, she thought she had it in the bag. Anjia, even though you're married to brother Yanxi, it can only be a marriage in name. The doctor said his condition makes him unfit for marital relations, let alone having children. He can't relieve himself on his own. You'll have to catheterize him. If the colostomy bag isn't clean, you'll have to reach in and clean it out by hand, bit by bit. He's too proud to let a nurse do these things for him. You'll have to do it yourself. With every word she spoke, Jiang Yanxi's face flushed a deeper shade of crimson with humiliation, as if picturing these mortifying and shameful scenes. The look he shot me was filled with nothing but hatred. I just smiled. You're so thoughtful, Yue. But I'm all thumbs. I just can't seem to get the hang of catheterization and cleaning the drainage bag. How about you show me how it's done? Shin Yue's smug expression froze on her face. She probably never expected that from me, the one who's always been fawning over Jiang Yanxi. The day will come when he loses all reverence for her as his unattainable ideal and turns on her. Flustered, she managed to choke out, "Enough, I came here to sincerely wish brother Yanxi well, not to endure your insults." With that, she maintained her dignity, and made a proud exit without looking back. "Darling, Shin Yue thinks helping you with the catheter is humiliating," I said airily, with a tone full of pity toward Jiang Yanxi, but he bristled like a porcupine. "And Jia, don't project your own malice onto others. It was my decision not to let Yue take care of me. She's the woman I love. I would never make her go through hardship with me, but you," he lifted his chin, as if only in front of me could he reclaim that lordly air of his. "Since you chose to jump into this fire pit yourself, I'll give you the chance to slave away serving me." He seemed utterly willing, even content, to have saved Shin Yue, yet, when faced with the bridal bed in the new room, strewn with dates, peanuts, longans, and lotus seeds, he broke down completely. Tears streaming down his face. "Anjia, you shouldn't have sent me that photo." He clutched the dates and longans so tightly that their thick juices, mingling into a color like congealed blood, trickled down his fingers. "Why didn't you call the police sooner? Why didn't you warn me there were so many people in that alley? I never stood a chance. You should have stopped me. You shouldn't have let me go. It's you. It's all your fault. You've ruined me." I watched coldly as his face contorted beyond recognition. That blurred visage overlapped with his from a past life. Yes, a past life. In that past life, he had choked me with the same ferocity, hurling accusations again and again. "You've ruined me." However, in our past life, he didn't blame me for failing to stop him from rescuing Shin Yue. Instead, he said, "And Jia, you were the one playing the hero. Who's to blame for you getting raped? Why should I be held responsible for your mistake? Why should I have to give up marrying the woman I love most because of you? You've ruined me." 3. In my past life, I was the one who saved Shin Yue. To buy time for the police to arrive, I played a siren recording at the alley entrance. As the thugs scattered in panic, I grabbed Shin Yue's arm and dashed out without a second thought. But once the thugs caught on, she shoved me straight into their midst. I endured the most brutal abuse, stripped of all dignity when I was rushed into the ICU. Yet Shin Yue, the one who started it all, was on her knees before Jiang Yanxi, pleading with him. "I was just so scared. I was terrified I'd never see you again. Brother Yanxi, please save me. Don't let Anjia sue me. She's been hurt so badly. She'll definitely take revenge. She'll ruin my life." And so Jiang Yanxi, who had always been cold toward me, holding flowers and a ring, knelt on one knee before my hospital bed in front of my parents. He told me that Shin Yue was involved in a severe car accident while fleeing from justice. "Anjia, she's gone. Your suffering is over. We were childhood sweethearts, promised to each other since we were children. Marry me. I'll take care of you for the rest of your life. Let me walk you out of this darkness." Okay, I was weak-willed. After that excruciating pain, I desperately needed someone to lean on. Even the Jiang parents, who had increasingly looked down on my family as their business flourished, utterly rejected me. blaming me for ruining Jiang Yanxi's life. Under Jiang Yanxi's insistence and the heartbroken, anxious gazes of my parents, I finally agreed. Jiang Yanxi was indeed very good to me. He completely shed his former indifference, showering me with endless sweet nothings every day. It left me no time to dwell on Shen Yue's death, making me want nothing more than to start my life anew. I thought my wedding to Jiang Yanxi would be a crooked, imperfect period at the end of the sentence of my youthful love and sorrow, but on the wedding day itself, I saw Shen Yue, who was supposed to be dead, appear in the groom's lounge, kissing Jiang Yanxi without a care in the world. And Jia is tainted, you must not touch her, I'll make up for the wedding night right here. The entire world I had built with all my might, so fragile and precarious, came crashing down in an instant. I broke down completely, screaming at them hysterically, asking why. I haven't done anything wrong, I don't owe anyone a thing, why are you torturing me so cruelly, pushing me to the brink? All I got in return was Jiang Yanxi's hands tightening around my throat. You don't owe us, and Jia, how dare you say that? If it weren't for your parents insisting on prosecuting Yue, how could I have possibly come up with the idea of faking her death? You think being raped makes you pitiful, you're Mrs. Jiang now. While Yue has to live in hiding for the rest of her life, you're the one who ruined us. In my past life, he nearly strangled me to death, yet I received not a shred of pity. In this life, I watched coldly as Jiang Yanxi endured the suffering of my past life, struggling in agony. It was you who ruined me. I shrugged my shoulders and let out a long sigh. The initial thrill of vengeance felt satisfying, so I decided to drop the act. Yeah, I did ruin you, so what? Got the guts to get up from that wheelchair and hit me. Jiang Yanxi's bloodshot eyes suddenly widened. He looked at me in disbelief, as if he suddenly didn't recognize me, or as if he didn't understand what I was saying. What did you just say? Say that again, I dare you. I smiled, walking up to him in silence. Without the slightest warning, I reached out and grabbed a fistful of his hair, and yanked him right out of his wheelchair. Ignoring Jiang Yanxi's agonized screams, I swiftly straddled him. I slapped him hard across the face, left and right, again and again, each motion crisp and brutal. You piece of trash. I looked down at him from my superior position. What gives a worthless piece of shit like you the right to act all high and mighty with me? Still think you're some precious young master? You're just a cheap slut who's begging for it. Why the hell should I treat you like royalty? Don't know your place, huh? I'll beat it into you. Jiang Yanxi's entire body went rigid and convulsed from the beating, unable to even let out a whimper. I know, that's what it's like after you've been violated. You see danger in every shadow, you're constantly on edge, you're so terrified, you lose all ability to fight back long before they can even lay a hand on you again. But so what? In my past life, he treated me the same way. I wasn't feeling generous enough to simply return the favor in kind, so I paid him back double. It wasn't until his colostomy bag leaked, filling the air with a foul stench, that I leisurely rose to my feet. He flexed his wrist. Clean this up yourself. If I come back and this floor is still dirty, I'll kill you. The icy voice sent a violent shudder through Jiang Yanxi. Clutching his swollen, reddened cheek, he stood there dazed for a long moment before finally breaking into sobs, fragile and trembling. Like a white flower battered by the wind, a deep-seated fear, born from past hurts I'd inflicted, robbed him of the courage to look me in the eye. Instead, he muttered in disbelief, repeating, are you still on, Jia? Are you really still on, Jia? A smirk tugged at the corner of my mouth as I delivered a dark joke. No, I'm in Jiahe, so just accept your fate, don't make me angry again. With that, I left the room. Slamming the door shut with a loud bang, I lit a cigarette. Sprawled on the living room sofa, I took a few deep, satisfying puffs, feeling completely at ease. Then I picked up the call from my dad. Dad, did you find him? Okay, I'm on my way. 5. I walked into the agreed-upon restaurant and spotted Qin Xian almost immediately. He stood tall and handsome, radiating the spirited confidence of youth. When he shook my hand, his eyes were clear and bright, and he spoke with a sincere, straightforward manner. Missin, your father mentioned you're interested in investing in my project. I won't let you down. As I looked at the project proposal he handed me, the same one I'd already reviewed countless times, a wave of regret washed over me. In my past life, I was the first to come across his tender proposal online. The project, named Chonan, was a fully intelligent AI companion care initiative. The concept captivated me, and I immediately saw its commercial potential. So, before our marriage, I persuaded Jiang Yanxi to co-invest in this project with my family. Later, the Jiang family leveraged this very project to ascend into high society, catapulting themselves to become the wealthiest family in the region. Yet, after our marriage fell apart, I was imprisoned and subjected to domestic violence by Jiang Yanxi. He threatened to release the most compromising videos of me to force my parents to surrender their original shares, ensuring I was completely forced out. Qin Xiangning endured relentless torment within the Jiang family's corporate empire. His initial passion was crushed when his most trusted team stole his work, framing him for plagiarism and shattering his future. With nowhere left to turn, he rushed to Jiang Yanxi's villa, desperate to confront the man who once recognized his talent, demanding to know why he had chosen to destroy it. Jiang Yanxi wasn't there, only I remained, pacing mechanically in the garden like a prisoner during yard time. We stared at each other through the iron gate. He looked haggard and disheveled, like a madman. I was gaunt and hollow-eyed, like a fool. I'm sorry, I was the one who chose you. I'm the one who ruined you, I said, overcome with shame and guilt. A sudden realization dawned on Qin Xian. So, it wasn't Jiang Yanxi, it was you. It's not your fault, not your fault, it's mine. I was the one who trusted the wrong person. In my past life, Qin Xian died before I did. He risked everything to steal the evidence of the Jiang family's illegal smuggling, submitting the damning documents one by one in the final seconds before he was killed. A prodigious talent, destroyed by base villainy. In this life, he need not suffer a tragedy where all is lost. I produced the contract I had prepared in advance. These are the terms I've drafted. During the contract period, you will be granted the greatest degree of autonomy. Furthermore, and this is crucial, once the product launches, the lead planner credit will forever bear your name. While my family's business isn't a major corporation, we have a real knack for securing financing. This project is my ticket to a resounding comeback in front of the Jiang family. As for how to make it self-destruct, I had just the right person to spearhead the charge for me. Upon hearing my assurance, Qin Xian was stunned for a moment. Then a look of instant, familiar delight spread across his face. He is a man of meticulousness and pride. To him, nothing was more important than putting his name to something. You trust me a lot, he said with a laugh, a cute little parenthesis forming at the corner of his mouth. Can you tell me why? A gut feeling, I guess, I said. From the moment I first saw you, I felt you trust me too. He asked no further questions. With decisive resolve, he pulled out a pen and scrawled his signature across the contract. He then reached out, and in his deep eyes sparkled with starlight. Pleasure doing business with you. 6. After signing the contract, Qin Xian headed to the studio I had prepared for him. I had a meal with my parents. After my rebirth, I immediately told them my plan. They've always trusted me, so with hardly any hesitation, they pretended to reluctantly agree to my marriage with Jiang Yanxi. Then, using their connections, they helped me secure Qin Xian from among a group of investors. Eat up, sweetheart. Mom always feels like you've lost weight. My mother is a gentle and beautiful woman, remembering how, in my past life, my family went bankrupt for my sake, to the point where she couldn't even afford a decent lipstick. My heart feels clenched, wringing out an endless stream of hatred. My father was a man of few words, simply piling food into my bowl. I ate with gusto. A full stomach gives you the strength to deal with people. The three of us didn't talk much. After the meal, we each went about our own business with unspoken understanding. I returned to the home I shared with Jiang Yanxi. Just as I expected, he hadn't cleaned up the mess. A spoiled young master like him, no matter how aggrieved he feels, will always instinctively blame others and seek shelter. A single beating wouldn't make him abandon his entitled nature, so I didn't waste any more words on him. I just grabbed him by the hair and started dragging him downstairs. Beneath the floorboards lies a basement I had the workers excavate specifically during the renovation. No, stop it, Anjia, have you lost your mind? You can't do this to me. It was only then that the reality of his situation dawned on him, and he began to struggle frantically. He broke down into a pathetic sob. My parents will never let you get away with this, won't let me get away with it. I slammed him down onto the makeshift mattress in the basement, then, gripping his jaw tightly, I forced him to look up at me. Your parents sold you to me. They're afraid having you at home will tank your family's stock price and ruin their precious reputations. They're desperate to make me the scapegoat. And what about your beloved Xin Yue? She thinks you're filthy and wants nothing to do with you. Do I need to remind you why? Do I? With one hand, I switched on the projector, while with the other, I pressed his head down hard. forcing him to look at the vast screen, a video. Shot from a phone's surreptitious angle, abruptly filled Jiang Yanxi's vision, that familiar, chilling alleyway, the setting of countless nightmares, and there, the figure of his own younger, recklessly brave self, charging in. As the camera drew closer, those wraith-like figures emerged with bone-chilling laughter. Gradually encircling and closing in, a lamb with nowhere to hide. Ah, ah, Jiang Yanxi shrieked, his fractured voice intertwining with the wails from the video, weaving a macabre symphony of sorrow, all for my appreciation, playing on an endless loop. Finally, as the sweat from Jiang Yanxi's brow soaked into my fingers, I let go of him, dehydrated and broken. He was a pale, crumpled mess, his body filthy and stained. I nudged the only clean spot left on his shirt with the tip of my shoe. Go on. Go tell your parents, let them come and see for themselves how I've been persecuting you. Or, how about I just post the video online, let everyone see it, let everyone pity you, let everyone judge for themselves. No, don't, please don't. Jiang Yanxi was finally terrified, he was utterly terrified. He finally realized I wasn't just venting my anger on him, nor was this a punishment born of a momentary loss of control. My intention was absolute and complete. To make him wish for death but find it unattainable. I was wrong, I was wrong. He was at a complete loss, wanting to clutch at my pant leg but afraid I'd find his hands dirty, sobbing. He curled his hands against his chest, pleading incessantly, I won't dare, I'll never dare again, please don't broadcast it, don't show anyone, I'll obey whatever you say from now on. Excellent, I smiled. Patting his sweat-dampened face, I said, remember your words. I'm someone who values family harmony. Your parents will be visiting in a few days, and I expect them to be thoroughly satisfied with and respectful towards their daughter-in-law. You know what to do, right? 7. On the day the Jiang family came to visit, Shen Yue also showed up. She was holding Mrs. Jiang's arm and offered her haughty advice. Anjia, Auntie asked me to come along. She says I know Yanxi Ji best. If there's anything you're not doing quite right, I'll point it out on the spot. That way, you won't miss the point and upset Yanxi Ji. Mother Jiang said matter-of-factly. Anjia, don't blame me. The men in our Jiang family are hard to please. You wouldn't be able to handle him on your own. I stepped aside from the doorway with a smile. He wouldn't dream of letting me wait on him. He said starting today, he's going to take good care of me. And so, the moment they stepped inside, they saw Jiang Yanxi, who didn't even have a wheelchair to sit in, carefully carrying dishes prepared by the housekeeper and placing them on the dining table with a timid awkwardness. In just a few days, he had lost a lot of weight, with dark circles under his eyes. When he saw his parents and Shen Yue, his eyes didn't brighten with joy, but held a complex mix of weariness and wariness. Dad, Mom, Yue, please, have a seat, there's one more fish dish, it'll be ready in a moment. Nonsense. Father Jiang shouted in disbelief. He immediately reached out to support Jiang Yanxi. How can you be doing this? This is servants' work, women's work. You're here to live a life of ease. Sit down at once. He turned and glared at me furiously. And Jia, a woman's husband is her heaven. You have gone too far. No, no. Jiang Yanxi recoiled in terror. Ever since the incident, he had developed an extreme aversion to men. Trembling, he stumbled backward and accidentally fell to the ground. Xiao Xi, Madame Jiang cried out in anguish. It took a great deal of effort for her and Shen Yue to finally haul the disheveled Jiang Yanxi back to his feet. She glared at me, furious. Anjia, we entrusted Xiaozi to you. How could you mistreat him, my precious son, and you dare make him carry dishes? Do you have any idea we've never let him lift a finger at home? Brother Yanxi, did Anjia force you to do this? Don't be afraid, tell us. Uncle and aunt will stand up for you, Shen Yue chimed in, backing her up. Then she looked at me with a commanding air. Anjia, what are you still sitting there for? Hurry up and, no need. Jiang Yanxi jerked his hands back from her and Mrs. Jiang's support as if startled. Sweat poured down his face, his gaze fixed on the floor, too ashamed to meet anyone's eyes. I wanted to do this. It has nothing to do with Anjia. I want to serve her. Just leave us alone, Brother Yanxi. Shen Yue gasped in shock, clutching Jiang Yanxi's arm urgently. You're heaven's chosen one. For Anjia to marry you was already a blessing for her. If I had known she would torture you like this, her voice choked with sobs, her eyes brimming with tears, she looked utterly pitiful, then I never should have stepped aside and let her have you. In the end, Jiang Yanxi couldn't bear to see Shen Yue like this, his own eyes reddened. Yue, oh, really, Then why don't you come and take care of him yourself? I said airily. The other 4 people in the room all turned to look at me at once. Shin Yue was stunned. What did you say? I replied with leisurely composure. Yue, if you love Yancy so much, you should move in and attend to him, fetch his bedpan, bathe him, wash his feet. True love conquers all hardships. Don't just talk the talk. Shin Yue's expression suddenly turned panicked. What nonsense are you talking about? Yue. Jiang Yancy grabbed her hand, looking at her with desperate hope. Really, you can stay, but Shin Yue wrenched her hand away as if shaking off a snake. No. Seeing Jiang Yancy's stunned and hurt expression, she began a plaintive moral appeal. Yancy, we can't do this. You're a married man. Being too close to me would be a betrayal of Anjia. Do you really want me to be the other woman? She looked at me with a shadowed gaze. And Anjia, you know perfectly well how I feel about Yancy. Putting us together day in and day out, you're testing me. Aren't you? What are you afraid of? I cut her off. Look at Yancy's condition. What could possibly happen between you two spending time together? Even the cleverest housewife can't cook without rice, right? I don't have your scheming mind. All I want is for Yancy to be happy. I tilted my head, looking at Jiang Yancy, whose face had gone deathly pale from my humiliation. Yancy, Yue is staying. Are you happy about that? Jiang Yancy was thoroughly unnerved by my stare. Making him want Shin Yue by his side even more, he grabbed Shin Yue's arm again, pleading, Yue, please, do it for me. Shin Yue trailed off, frantically searching for a way to refuse. It's settled then, I declared, putting an end to the discussion. Shin Yue was completely frantic. What's decided? How is it decided? Who gave you the right to decide for me? I'm telling you, I don't agree. You just want to dump this mess on me. Yue, Mrs. Jiang grabbed her, pushing her toward the inner room. I know you're carrying a burden. It's alright, tell Auntie anything. I understand you. Let's talk inside. Without another word, Mrs. Jiang pulled Shin Yue inside. With a loud bang, the door shut. The door closed. A deathly silence fell over the living room. Jiang Yancy looked dazed, yet still refused to give up hope, his eyes fixed longingly on that firmly shut door. Mr. Jiang looked me over with a cold, appraising stare, his voice laced with threat. Anjia, do you think you can play games in front of us? Do you want your family's business to survive the next quarter? The Jiang family was our biggest client, in my past life, out of a sense of old friendship. My family turned down better investors and tied our fortunes tightly to the Jiangs. That's why, after I got married, Mr. Jiang repeatedly used his control over our orders to keep us in line, forcing us to swallow our pride. But now, the excellence of the Cheonan project has secured us a wealth of high-quality resources. Yesterday, my mother leveraged her gathering with the socialites to grease the wheels. Quite a few big shots have already signed letters of intent. So we won't be at anyone's mercy anymore. So I shot back nonchalantly, it's just business. If you don't want it, plenty of others will. Trading on seniority is a lousy move. I'd advise you to mind your own business, Mr. Jiang's face instantly darkened. The look in his eyes towards me now held more scrutiny and calculation. He'll likely start investigating my family's recent projects very soon. Perfect. That's exactly what I want. My only fear was that he wouldn't look into it, at that moment. Shin Yue finally emerged from the house, following Mrs. Jiang. Mrs. Jiang must have paid a hefty sum, for even Shin Yue's understanding and agreeable expression couldn't fully conceal her underlying greed. Anjia, I promise you, I'll start keeping Yancy company tomorrow. What can I say? I just can't stop worrying about him. With me around, don't even think about bullying him. I smiled, raising my glass. All right then. To our brilliant future together. Cheers. Everyone stepped right into the roles I had so carefully crafted for them. Your downfall is the making of my triumph. That night, Jiang Yancy was exhilarated. He almost regained the nerve to provoke me. And Jia, I never thought you'd be willing to step aside for Yue and me. Since your anger has subsided, I hope the three of us can coexist peacefully from now on. I gave him an utterly emotionless look and projected the surveillance footage onto the large screen. Peace or mutually assured destruction, the choice is yours. On the screen was a scene of Shin Yue arguing with Jiang's mother in the room. The Shin Yue inside the video was a far cry from her usual gentle, schoolbelle persona, hysterical and nitpicking over every little thing. Enough already. I went along with your little charade, but you actually expect me to wait on that cripple. Do you have any idea how bad he smells? You want me to wipe his ass and change his diapers? Pfft, I'd rather die than do that. I was too kind for my own bid back then. I never should have pitied you rich people. Did you think you could buy my dignity for such a pittance? Sure, I'll spend time with him, but it'll cost you this much. I'll keep him happy, and don't you dare ask about him getting any work done. Only when Mother Jiang relented did she take out her phone and transfer the money. A smile then spread across her face, one that was greedy, disdainful, and malicious. It ruthlessly shattered the rosy illusion Jiang Yanxi had held in his heart. He could only stare at the screen, mouth agape, helpless and frantic, so sickened he was racked with violent dry heaves, yet nothing would come out. Finally, a wretched, strangled cry tore itself from the depths of his throat, boundless sorrow, laced with a potent, seething hatred. He broke down into a fit of wailing sobs, like a beggar who'd just been robbed, or a fool who'd just realized what a fool he'd been, anyway. I wasn't interested in hearing the rest, so I just closed the door. I went back to my room, took a shower, and had a great night's sleep. I'm really looking forward to Xin Yue's arrival tomorrow. 9. Xin Yue had arrived. She was wearing that same shirt dress she often wore back in university. She sat down calmly beside Jiang Yanxi, maintaining a polite distance. Her gentle demeanor held a hint of cautious probing. Brother Yanxi, sitting side by side like this. Doesn't it remind you of our university lecture days? Do you remember when you promised me that you'd make my life easy and happy, that you'd take care of everything for me? She was practically telling Jiang Yanxi outright that she wasn't going to be his nurse. Unfortunately, Jiang Yanxi was no longer the man he used to be. A love-struck mind that has come to its senses is even more terrifying than one that hasn't. A faint glimmer lit up Jiang Yanxi's eyes when she mentioned their school days, only to be swiftly swallowed by an inscrutable darkness. Ignoring Xin Yue's hint, he said coldly, I reek, I need to wash up. Xin Yue was taken aback for a moment, then turned to me naturally and instructed, you're his wife, you should go with him. It wouldn't be proper for me. Jiang Yanxi suddenly grabbed her, I want you to wash it for me. Xin Yue was terrified and shoved him away hard. Brother Yanxi. But Jiang Yanxi seized her again, his grip iron tight. Or do you think I'm filthy, afraid my dirt will sully your noble hands? You bitch, stop pretending. His face was flushed crimson with rage, twisted and contorted in fury, with a desperate, all-consuming strength that Xin Yue couldn't break free from. He snarled, didn't you take the money? Huh, my mother gave you so much money, you're as good as sold to me. You think I'm dirty? How clean are you? If you don't serve me, who will? The money my family gave you is enough to buy your life. A ferocity she had never seen before made Xin Yue's heart pound with terror. She screamed, struggling to break free, let go, let me go. Jiang Yanxi paid her no heed whatsoever, utterly despairing and unhinged. He grabbed the scalding tea the housekeeper had just poured and, without warning, flung it directly at Xin Yue's face. You lied to me, with that innocent face of yours, you lied to me. Xin Yue screamed and rolled on the ground. She kept crying out in pain, the skin visible between her fingers covered in huge blisters. Jiang Yanxi still wasn't satisfied. He probably learned from me, grabbing Xin Yue by the hair and dragging her toward the bathroom. Are you going to wash it or not? Huh, if you don't, I'll kill you. Xin Yue was terrified. The pain in her head and face had sapped her strength, leaving her to sob and plead helplessly. I'll wash it, please don't drag me, I'll wash it. Whimpers, in the end, trembling all over. She managed to kneel weakly beside Jiang Yanxi's leg. She stared at the full colostomy bag in Jiang Yanxi's possession, her face a mask of utter revulsion and inner turmoil. But there was no choice. Under Jiang Yanxi's deathly glare, her hands shook as she tried to open it, only to end up hurting the other person. Jiang Yanxi uttered a single, icy word, worthless. Without another moment's hesitation, his hand found the back of Xin Yue's head and shoved it down with brutal force. It was a gruesome sight, like molten iron mixed with gold. Xin Yue's face, as she screamed and lifted it, was already a horrific sight. She touched her own face in utter disbelief. She went from complete collapse to a violent outburst, throwing all caution to the wind. She lunged at Jiang Yanxi, grappling with him. Fuck you, you goddamn cripple. Your life is so pathetic, and you won't let me have a good one. You'll pay for my face. If it can't be fixed, I'll make sure you're buried with me. I watched the whole dog-eat-dog spectacle with cold detachment. I timed my call to the Jiang family for when they were utterly exhausted. In the end, a disheveled Xin Yue was dragged away by Mrs. Jiang and her security, Mrs. Jiang even raised her precious hand and slapped Xin Yue repeatedly. You bitch, how could you be so cruel to my son? Try mentioning the police again, I'll make you disappear, you hear me?" She shot me another couple of glances, probably wishing she could slap me right then and there. But with all the dirt I have on her son, how could I let her lay a hand on me? Jiang Yanxi wouldn't dare leave with her either, left with no choice. Mrs. Jiang had to leave, seething with resentment. As she departed, Shen Yue was still shouting about suing the Jiang family. A pity she's already in their clutches, she'll likely never get that chance. 10. From that day on, I banished Jiang Yanxi back to the basement. Our connection is severed. From today, you will live here, I will not disturb you, nor will I come to see you. At first, he felt a sense of relief, even a certain satisfaction at the prospect of not having to see me again, but after just a few days, he began to panic. Because truly, no one came, the entire basement was terrifyingly quiet, the sealed walls didn't even have a single window, making it impossible to sense the passage of time. The only proof he still had any connection to the outside world was the 2 meals delivered by the small elevator. A person simply cannot endure prolonged solitude, especially without a phone or any form of entertainment, every minute, every second. A profound loneliness gnawed at him like a bone-deep parasite. Relentlessly eroding his sanity and resolve, he began talking to himself, then shouting, pounding on the walls and throwing himself against the door, all in a desperate bid for even the slightest shred of attention. But there was none. Silence reigned all around, no one answered his breakdown. A massive wave of panic engulfed him, overwhelming even his fear of me. Driven by pure instinct, he began to scream my name over and over. "Anjia, Anjia, Anjia, are you there? Answer me, Anjia. I'm suffering, let me out, now, can you hear me? I'll die if I stay in here." Desperate for a response, he resorted to lies to paint a rosy picture. "I'm your husband, you can't do this to me. I don't actually hate you. I stopped hating you a long time ago. I'll try to love you. Let's just live a peaceful life together. Anjia, I was wrong. I'm truly sorry. Save me, Anjia, Anjia, Anjia." Of course, I couldn't hear his heart-wrenching confession. Lately, I've been building something with Qin Xian, even though I always knew he was brilliant. Seeing his strategic business vision and ingenious technical ideas firsthand in this life still took me by surprise. Drawing on my own experience, I also proposed several concepts for improvement and innovation. As we refined them, we worked together seamlessly. The day the prototype passed its initial tests, Qin Xian's eyes grew moist with emotion. He blinked back tears, looking embarrassed to cry, which made his whole face appear especially fair and delicate. Having lived 2 lifetimes, I still found his college student self rather endearing. I couldn't resist teasing him, crying already. "Moneybags, if you become a billionaire in the future, won't you flood the entire company?" He looked up at me, his gaze unusually firm and sincere. "I don't need to be rich, I just want to keep working here, with you, with our team. Billions, trillions, you can have it all." I knew his feelings for me were gratitude, and appreciation born from our partnership, yet those eyes, which seemed to hold deep affection for everyone they landed on, still managed to make my heart burn. A sudden itch of desire came over me. I've had a tough go of it these 2 lives, and I've never truly had a happy, proper romance in the prime of my youth, so the words just tumbled out. "Qin Xian, I'll be honest, my initial interest in you is pretty shallow. I heard you're single. Would you mind if I tried to win you over? I've got quite a few tricks up my sleeve." Qin Xian was stunned, his ears flushed a visible red. "No, it's fine," he murmured, lowering his head. "Rejected." I was a bit disappointed. In the novels, every reborn female lead gets a handsome new love interest, right? Reality sure is harsh. No need for all the tricks, Qin Xian suddenly added. He nervously wrung his hands, then ran his fingers through his hair. "I'm, actually pretty easy to win over. Just be sincere." I was delighted. This was promising. "I am sincere," I said earnestly, tentatively taking his hand. "But I have a few things I need to wrap up first. Wait for me." Okay. 11. The matter requiring my attention was, of course, the Jiang family. By the time I returned, Jiang Yanxi had already been locked up for over half a month. Emaciated, he lay sprawled on the basement floor like a heap of mud. The moment I opened the door, that heap of filth seemed to flare with a final, desperate vitality, scrambling toward me with frantic urgency. "Anjia, Anjia, I'll be good. I promise I'll be good. Please don't leave me." I dragged him into the bathroom and scrubbed him clean. Then I changed the bedding, wrapped him in a warm blanket, and put on a carefully restrained, pained expression. "Didn't you hate me? what were you hoping for, waiting for me to come back?" He shuddered violently. He cautiously drew closer to me and whispered, "In the past, I was too cold. I didn't know what was good for me. I promise I won't be like that anymore. Please, don't leave me alone, Anja. This place feels so lifeless, I can't tell day from night, and I'm so scared being by myself. Could you stay with me? If this goes on, I'll go mad." I knew he wasn't lying. In my past life, he locked me away like this too. The endless stretch of time was like the midnight sun in Iceland, brimming with light, yet so agonizing that I yearned for darkness. Even if that darkness could consume a person, I found myself helplessly drawn to the change. That was me in my previous life, suffering from a severe case of Stockholm Syndrome. I became infatuated with my abuser, Jiang Yanxi, and only found release in death. Now the tables have turned. And no one understands better than I do how to make him suffer. It's too late. When I was in love with you, you poured all your attention onto someone else, completely ignoring my affection for you. Now you say you've changed. How am I supposed to believe you, Jiang Yanxi? You can't have your cake and eat it too." He had no retort and began to sob, utterly defeated by my words. "You look so broken, so in need of someone to give in and comfort you." So I put on a perfunctory show. All right, I get it. I'll come see you when I have time, so stop crying." In the days that followed, I continued to vanish frequently. I would just reappear before Jiang Yanxi at irregular intervals. Most of the time, it was extremely fleeting, yet my words planted a powerful suggestion in Jiang Yanxi's mind. He became utterly obsessed with thoughts of me, relentlessly replaying my past secret crush on him and everything I had quietly done for him. He began hallucinating, apologizing to thin air, confessing his wrongs, and slapping his own face. On the surveillance footage, scene after scene played out of his one-sided, cringe-worthy attempts to win back his ex. His parents came to see him a few times, and each time they were utterly terrified by his deranged state. The way they looked at me was as if I were a human trafficker. With each visit, his father's expression grew darker. I knew he was waiting for a chance to punish me. That chance arrived unexpectedly. As Qin Xian began attending various exchange forums and international award ceremonies with the Chong'an system, in the past, the Jiang family monopolized all opportunities, never giving Qin Xian a chance to shine. They just kept throwing money into domestic marketing. This time around, I'm betting everything on Qin Xian's personal brand. His success only fueled Mr. Zhang's determination to have him at any cost. Just a few days later, Qin Xian told me the Jiang family had offered him a hefty commission to poach him. Honestly, that money was seriously tempting, Qin Xian said with a perfectly straight face, but that old man just looks like he's asking for a punch. Rather than getting a fortune but having to look at his ugly mug every day, I'd rather stay here where I'm well fed and comfortable. Plus, I get chased around by a beauty like Missin. He was putting on a serious front, but secretly, he was fishing for a compliment. Ever since I started pursuing him, he's gotten a bit cheeky. I scratched his chin as a reward. What a heartbreaker. Handsome, you're in such high demand. Ever considered doing a bit of corporate espionage? Qin Xian's eyes went wide, sparkling with curiosity and eagerness. Teach me. 12. A single rejection wasn't enough to make Mr. Jiang give up. He came to see Qin Xian several more times. Following my advice, Qin Xian engaged in a bit of back and forth. Mr. Jiang, Anja has already secured an agreement with suppliers to purchase all scarce consumables and raw materials at rock-bottom prices. The savings from that alone run into 9 figures, and that's not even mentioning the free international promotion from major corporations. I'm afraid a mid-sized enterprise like yours simply can't compete. He relented further. However, your sincerity truly moves me. At this price point, it would be rude of me to remain indifferent. All right. If you can keep the startup costs under 300 million, I can agree to your terms. I'll handle all the corporate connections. Qin Xian's greatest asset is his honest face. He even looks utterly sincere when he's lying. Mr. Jiang was an arrogant capitalist who relished manipulating the flattery and naivety of the younger generation, just as he had looked down on me in my past life. In this life, he underestimated me too. Cooking the books was no challenge for him. As for costs, when the land route was blocked, he took to the waterways. Just like in the previous life, to expedite the company's IPO, he resorted to smuggling, and so, under Mr. Zhang's watchful eye, Qin Xian and I staged one public feud after another. He would make snide remarks on Weibo, calling me an exploitative boss, while I hinted that he was biting the hand that fed him. All the big-shot investors who backed us have now thrown their support behind Qin Xian, in old man Zhang's eyes. I've been cast aside by both Qin Xian and the venture capital world, left in a pitiful state. To the venture capitalists, old man Jiang is just free publicity, an appetizer. We're waiting for him to bite off more than he can chew so we can use his failure to drum up hype for the project. With Jiang Yanxi, I played my part to perfection. I gave him the cold shoulder for a full month. I only went back after he had waited for me in the basement until he was utterly despondent and attempted suicide by cutting his wrist. The first thing he did upon waking up in the hospital was to cling to me, begging for a hug. Of course, I didn't let him have his way. I shoved him away and said, "Your family has already ruined my life. What's with this crocodile tears act? Why don't you just go home and resume your life as the pampered young master?" Divorce. Jiang Yanxi was instantly stunned. He started crying in a panic, even more furious than I was. "How could they? What did they do to you? Tell me. I'll go talk to them. I'm their only son. They'll listen to me." He frantically tried to clear himself. "Anjia, you can't take it out on me. I didn't know. I had no idea about any of this. Don't know. Go ask your precious father." I continued my psychological manipulation. "He really dotes on you, doesn't he? For your sake." He didn't hesitate to steal from his own daughter-in-law. And now look, my project is shut down. I'm about to go bankrupt. I viciously grabbed him by the throat. "I'm just dying to know, how did he raise that much money? It has to be some underhanded scheme. Your whole family is rotten to the core, and you're nothing but a goddamn jinx." With that, ignoring his desperate pleas, I had the bodyguards throw him back to the Jiang family. As he clung desperately to the car door, begging for a chance to convince his parents, I delivered the final blow. "Spare me the act. This is a fight to the death between me and your family. Are you telling me you'd abandon your own parents and choose me? I don't buy it for a second." At those words, Jiang Yanxi fell completely silent. Then, a look of unprecedented fervor ignited in his eyes. "No, Anjia, I choose you. Only you can give me the sense of security I crave. My greatest wish in this life is to stay by your side forever. I'll handle everything for you. Just wait for me." I scoffed and turned to leave, a smirk playing on my lips. Good, all that subtle hinting was worth it. 13. Not long after Jiang Yanxi returned home, I publicly announced the project was being put on hold. In front of my mother, Mrs. Zhang's attitude became noticeably haughty. "Mrs. and cherish these days you can still have afternoon tea with your friends. It'll be hard to get together like this in the future. Whose fault is it that your daughter is so troublesome? She squandered the family's savings, hasn't she? Heaven sees all, and people are watching. The wrongs Anjia has done to my son will come back to haunt her, one by one." The day of the knockoff Anxiong project launch event, the Jiang family sent me an invitation. It read, "Ms. Anjia, you are cordially invited to witness the collapse of your own perfect life." I went. I also submitted to Customs and the Tax Bureau all the evidence Jiang Yanxi had sent me during this period, proof of the board members' collusion in falsifying accounts at Jiangfu United, along with the recorded communications from their overseas smuggling operations. I consulted the most authoritative psychiatrist. That's just how Stockholm Syndrome is. The initial period after leaving is the hardest to break free from. The more you try to quit, the crazier it gets. When Jiang Yanxi sent me the evidence, his voice was filled with mania. "Anjia, they're finished, they're going down. Are you happy? Ha 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 ha. My dad is so easy to fool. He actually still thinks that after everything I've been through, I could still be his respectable, successful son. In his dreams, if he tears us apart, I'll make sure he sees me self-destruct. No one gets to walk away from this unscathed." At the press conference, Mr. Jiang stood under the spotlight in a tailored suit, passionately and animatedly laying out his grand business vision. Jiang Yanxi sat in the audience, his face deathly pale, yet he was unnervingly alert, his eyes gleaming with a manic, destructive light. Finally, Mr. and Mrs. Jiang took to the stage together. "Let's raise our glasses and drink heartily." The doors to the press conference were suddenly flung open from the outside. Customs officers and tax inspectors in uniform filed in one after another, amidst a wave of gasps and exclamations. Camera flashes erupted from the audience. The jowly faces of the Jiang parents, which had been beaming with laughter, stiffened and turned ashen the moment they saw the enforcement notice. They looked like two shriveled, faded wax figures. 14. A misunderstanding. This must all be a misunderstanding. Comrades, please, have a seat. Let's talk this through properly. Before his arrest, Mr. Zhang's father tried to deny everything. What is this? How did you get this? No, no, no. It's AI generated, it has to be AI generated. Even after being shown the evidence by customs and tax officials, he desperately tried to deny the allegations. Who the hell sold me out? Just you wait until I find out who it was. Unable to deny it any longer, he completely lost his composure, resorting to shouting and threats. Mrs. Jiang wept so hard her hair came undone. She clung tightly to the expressionless Jiang Yanxi. My son, our family's company is finished. What do we do? What will become of us, mother and son? How will we survive? Jiang Yanxi's voice drifted down lightly from above her head. I'll be just fine. Anjia will take care of me. As for you lot, your future doesn't look so bright. Mother Zhang's eyes widened in shock, staring at Jiang Yanxi as if he were a stranger. Xiao Ci, what on earth are you saying? Jiang Yanxi laughed, a chilling, bone-deep sound. Perfect. With you out of the picture, I can finally be with Anjia. Serves you right. How dare you mess with my wife? Do you have any idea how much I love her? You crossed her, so you deserve to die. You deserve it. It's you, Mr. Jiang clutched his chest, a trembling hand pointing at Jiang Yanxi. Mrs. Jiang was utterly shattered. She covered her head, crouched on the ground, and wailed incessantly. A curse upon us, a disgrace to the family. With Jiang Yanxi's testimony, Mr. Jiang was swiftly convicted. Before he could even be sent to prison, he suffered a heart attack and ended up in the ICU. After the assets were frozen, Mrs. Jiang, unable to shoulder the massive debt, simply gave up on treatment. Mr. Jiang lingered at home for 3 days before finally passing away. The deranged Jiang Yanxi paid no heed to his mother, who had cried herself blind. Instead, he came looking for me at my place. He kept pounding on my door. Anjia, I'm back. I kept my promise. My father is dead. My mother has gone mad. They've suffered so much. Can I come home now? But I was no longer there. I had moved. Qin Xian and I bought a big villa together. What started as a roommate situation turned into something more. So this is the matter you said needed resolving. After learning about my past with Jiang Yanxi, Qin Xian fell into deep thought. I was a bit put out. Don't tell me you have a problem with second marriages. I'm not into that purity nonsense. He looked at me, exasperated. Can't I just despise my utterly unimpressive former rival in love? The next day, Qin Xian intercepted Jiang Yanxi at my former residence and personally served him with the lawsuit. It was a divorce petition I had filed, citing Jiang Yanxi's physiological dysfunction and severe psychological disorder as grounds, which had severely disrupted our marital life, a truly devastating blow. However, Jiang Yanxi never made it to the court hearing. He was kidnapped. A week later, he was found in a filthy alley of an urban village. He was dead, and it was a gruesome death. The perpetrators were a few local, desperate small-time thugs. The police's existing surveillance footage shows a woman wearing a mask and a hat luring Jiang Yanxi into the urban village. Looking at her height and build, the disfigured face of Xin Yue instantly flashed through my mind. She's got 9 lives. She's actually still alive. I immediately provided this lead to the police. The Anqiang project launched on the very day Xin Yue was arrested. Following the Jiang family's clownish spectacle, both inside and outside the industry developed a keen interest in Anqiang's intelligent care system. Starting with celebrities, nearly every household began equipping their vulnerable members with one. It gradually expanded to reach the general consumer market. Its sales trajectory was even more impressive than in the previous life. Every morning I wake up, I'm blinded by the money flowing into my account. Oh, but there's something even more dazzling. It's Qin Xian sleeping beside me, a vision of pure radiance. Story 2. On the day Su Anren got married, my husband jumped off the 18th floor. When I opened his studio, it was filled with portraits of Su Anren. The strokes were scribbled and extreme, yet they carried his surging love. A friend said, Shen Qingqia has loved Anren for 10 years. She used to be his only light. When I opened my eyes again, I saw Shen Qingqia, who was blocked in the classroom by the school bully, and silently closed the door. Later, he knocked on my window in the rain, his voice hoarse and desperate. Ran, don't you want me anymore? 1. Shen Qingqia, a professor of astrophysics, recently discovered a new asteroid. When he was being interviewed, he became a trending topic on the internet because of his cold and outstanding appearance. The focus of everyone's discussion shifted from the asteroid to his almost devilishly handsome face. When it was heard that the asteroid was named after the person he loved the most, netizens were instantly excited. While praising this fairy-like love, they all started to dig into who R.A.N. was. I held my phone, and it was even harder to suppress the corners of my mouth than an AK. At the end of the video, the reporter asked with a smile, "Professor Shen, is there anything you want to say to your beloved R.A.N.?" Shen Qingqia was taken aback, and his dark eyes, as black as the night, trembled slightly. "Happy wedding." His tone was calm, but it was mixed with a barely noticeable despair on the verge of collapse. I froze instantly. "What happy wedding? Yo yo yo." Wei Qing beside me bumped into me playfully. Ran, your Professor Shen looks cold and aloof, but I didn't expect him to be quite romantic. He even treats the wedding anniversary as a new wedding. Is that so?" Looking at Shen Qingqia's affectionate eyes in the video, my cheeks instantly became hot. I have accompanied Shen Qingqia for 10 years. I helped him transform from a gloomy and listless teenager to the gentle and refined professor he is now. 10 years ago, he transferred to our school and became my desk mate. The young man had skin as white as jade and features as beautiful as a painting, but his gaze towards me was full of impatience. And now, he named an asteroid after me. When he mentions his beloved, his usually cold eyebrows and eyes are tinged with affection and tenderness. Today is our first wedding anniversary. I nestled on the sofa, touching my belly. I was going to tell him the news that I was pregnant the moment he came back. However, what I waited for was the news of Shen Qingqia's death. He jumped off the 18th floor. He tightly clutched a piece of paper in his hand. "Death is just a return to the universe. Billions of years later, we will meet again in the sea of stars." 2. Accompanied by Wei Qing, I handled Shen Qingqia's funeral arrangements. He had made a will, stating that all his property should be donated after his death. I don't know why, but I was surprisingly calm these days, seeing Wei Qing with swollen eyes, gnashing her teeth at Shen Qingqia's portrait, yet still forcing herself to comfort me. I even felt like laughing a bit. After the funeral, I received a call from the lawyer. "Mrs. Shen, Mr. Shen owns a villa under his name, which is not within the scope of the donation. You can come and deal with it when you have time." The villa was located in the suburbs of the southern part of the city. I pushed open the gate and was so shocked by what I saw that I couldn't say a word. The hall was filled with portraits. The strokes of the portraits were scribbled and extreme, as rough as if they were drafts casually drawn by a beginner, but the person in the portraits seemed vivid and lifelike because of the surging and intense love in them. It was Su Anren, the campus belle of our high school. In 10 years, I had never heard Shen Qingqia mention her name. I had no idea that his feelings for her were hidden so deeply. I stumbled forward a few steps and leaned against the table for support. On the table, several amber ornaments were neatly arranged. Inside them were sealed a fruit candy, a dried flower, and a piece of broken diamond nail art respectively. The amber was smooth and round, and it was obvious that it had been often played with in the hand. The things that Su Anren had casually thrown away were regarded as treasures by him. However, the wedding ring that I had personally chosen for him was lying in the dried paint box beside it. My heart ached in waves, and tears welled up in my eyes involuntarily. After sitting down, I opened the notebook on the table self-abusively. I witnessed Shen Qingqia's secret love that lasted for 10 years. On the first day of his transfer, he received a fruit candy and a friendly smile from the campus belle sitting in front of him. It was like a ray of sunshine shining into his dark heart. That was the first pure kindness received by the gloomy teenager who had been abused and bullied at home and at school. He fell for her from then on. He wanted to lock her up, possess her, and make her smile only at him, but he couldn't bear to drag such a bright and sunny girl into the darkness. R.A.N. was not Ran, my name, but Ran, Anren's name. It was the wedding gift he gave her. From the beginning to the end of the notebook, there were only a few mentions of me. "The new deskmate meddles too much. It's really annoying. I got married, I'm a bit regretful, but I have to take responsibility for her." He didn't mention a single word about the breakfast I brought him for fear of his hypoglycemia, the school bullies I drove away for him, the time I held his hand and led him out of the fire made by his crazy father, and my company and comfort over the years. What he couldn't forget was only the publicity-seeking smiling face of Su Anren back then. Every word of his was like cutting my heart with a slow knife. I clenched my fists tightly and took a deep breath. It seemed that the fresh pine would send on him still lingered in the air. I felt a bit nauseous. Some people are just mean. They don't deserve to be saved or loved. I pressed my palm against my belly. He didn't deserve me to give birth to his child. Just as I was about to stand up, there was a sudden noise at the door. Two figures pushed the door open and entered. 3. It was Shin Qingqia's childhood friend, Qingyi, and Su Anren. Qingyi's eyes were red, and his voice was hoarse. This villa was left to you by Qingqia. You used to be his only light. Back then, he was so depressed that he almost couldn't hold on. He only cheered up by looking at your photo. Su Anren stood there in a daze, her eyes covered with a layer of mist. After he was recommended for admission, he didn't have to go to class anymore. But he came to school every day just to take one more look at you. At this point, Qingyi saw me behind the bookshelf. He was taken aback. Then he frowned in disgust. What are you doing here? He stepped forward quickly and pushed me hard. Get out of here now. Don't dirty the only clean place that Qingqia has. If it weren't for you pestering him so desperately, how could he have ended up like this? After being pushed and staggering, my belly ached. I steadied myself and slapped him backhand. What does it have to do with me? I never forced him to fall in love with me or marry me. He missed Su Anren because he was both cowardly and mean himself. Su Anren's voice with a nasal tone suddenly sounded. Didn't he receive the love letter I sent him? Qingyi and I were both stunned at the same time. What did you say? Before the college entrance examination, I put a love letter on his seat, but I never got a response from him. At this point, she gave a bitter smile. When she looked up again, there was a hint of resentment in her eyes. It was you, wasn't it? She stared at me fiercely. You were jealous of me, so you threw away the love letter. You made us miss each other for a whole 10 years. Now we're separated by life and death. I didn't know about this matter, but Qingyi believed it. You venomous woman. He gritted his teeth and pounced on me. My belly hit the corner of the table heavily. Intense pain hit, and blood slowly seeped out. My eyes went dark, and I fainted to the ground. When I opened my eyes again, I was holding books in my hands, wearing a school uniform, and standing in front of the utility room. Inside the utility room, the young Shin Qingqia was leaning against the wall, his fine black hair falling over his forehead. His eyes looking at me held a trace of bewilderment. The school bully, Shan Yan, was lazily sitting opposite him, with a relaxed expression. Seeing me, he raised the end of his eyebrow, and the corner of his mouth curved into a casual arc. Top student, are you worried about him? I just want to have a heart-to-heart talk with him. The touch of the books in my hand didn't feel like a dream. My hands and feet instantly turned cold, and hatred welled up in my heart. The books fell to the ground with a bang. I expressionlessly closed the door for him, then I turned around and left. But there was a sudden sound of the door being pushed open violently behind me. Shin Qingqia ran past me like a gust of wind, leaving only a hasty back view. Why are you running? I just asked him why he didn't sign up for the sports meet projects. Shan Yan mumbled as he picked up the books I dropped and casually handed them to me. You're welcome. I had a bad premonition and quickly quickened my pace to catch up. At the classroom door, Shin Qingqia stared blankly at Su Anren, who was playing around with her deskmate in the classroom. The setting sun shone obliquely, casting a soft halo over his figure. His gaze was gentle and filled with disbelief, as if he had fallen into a dream that he didn't want to wake up from. My heart sank slowly. His behavior and demeanor were not like the gloomy teenager he used to be, but rather like the refined professor he would become 10 years later. Shin Qingqia had also been reborn. What's wrong with you? Shan Yan, not understanding, patted him on the shoulder and squeezed into the classroom from beside him. Class is about to start. Don't block the way here. 5. I found my seat according to my memory. This was a self-study class. The classmates around me were all studying quietly. I casually opened an exercise book and stared blankly at the childish and neat handwriting on it. In this new life, I definitely can't follow the same old path as before. My mind gradually cleared, and my mood also calmed down little by little. Since Shin Qingqia had been reborn, he probably didn't want to have anything to do with me either. In this life, we should keep our distance from each other. If he wants to seek death, let him. I have to stay away from him, otherwise, his blood might splash on me when he dies. It's really disgusting. Just as I was thinking, Shin Qingqia's cold voice suddenly sounded. Byran, give me your English notes. I looked up. What? He glanced at me sideways, his expression distant. And he didn't seem to notice that my behavior was different from the previous life. Well, he had Su Anren in his heart and eyes, and he had long forgotten what I had done for him. Hearing this, Su Anren turned around and apologized. I'm sorry, I just asked Qingqia to borrow the notes, but he said your English is better, so I came to borrow from you. She had curved eyebrows and eyes, which made people naturally feel good about her. Unfortunately, this trick didn't work on me. I won't lend it. I still need it. It wasn't that I really needed it, I just simply didn't want to lend it. Sue Amron's smile froze. Her deskmate, Chinyi, couldn't stand it and turned around Tome. Byran, as the class monitor, it's only natural for you to help your classmates. Why are you so reluctant to lend the notes as if it were going to cost you your life? Hurry up and hand it over. Amron asking you to borrow it means she thinks highly of you. Don't be so stingy. His voice was a bit loud. And the surrounding classmates all looked over. Sue Amron's expression was disappointed, but there was a hint of contempt in her eyes when she looked at me. Wei Qing beside me rolled her eyes, swallowed the spicy strips in her mouth, and started to retort, "Stop morally kidnapping us here. Why should we give our hard-earned notes to you ungrateful people? What, do you think you're right just because you have bad grades?" Seeing that the two were about to quarrel, Shen Qingqie quickly interrupted. "That's enough." Then he turned to look at me, his voice softened, and his tone was calm and serious. Byran, English is Amron's weak subject. Only when her English grades improve can she apply for a school in City A. I looked at him steadily, feeling a bit sad. He didn't continue the rest of the words, but I knew, the university Shen Qingqie attended in his previous life was in City A, and he hoped to attend the same university as Sue Amron, in just over 10 minutes. He had already planned their future. I had never been treated so seriously by him. In the first month of our marriage, he went to teach in a city far away. He only came home once every few months and never took the initiative to call me. It turned out that it wasn't that he couldn't, but that he just didn't love me. I lowered my eyes, feeling that my 10 years were really not worth it. Shen Qingqie thought I was hesitating. "Didn't you always want to invite me to your home for dinner before?" He seemed to have suddenly thought of something, and his beautiful peach blossom eyes were full of understanding. "If you help Amron improve her English grades, I'll go to your home for dinner once a month." There was a sense of superiority and charity in his tone. Why, after being reborn, he couldn't even speak properly. I finally couldn't stand it and looked up to meet his gaze. Am I such a mean person? Why do I have to endure all the hardships? Shen Qingqie's expression was blank for a moment. Just as he was about to say something, the head teacher suddenly pushed the classroom door open and came in, holding a thermos cup. He announced the news that the registration for the T University's recommended admission school examination had started. In the previous life, Shen Qingqie was recommended to T University through this exam, and I didn't participate. Shen Qingqie and I raised our hands at the same time. He looked at me in surprise, as if he didn't understand why I had made a different choice from the previous life. Ran, are you also going to sign up? Sue Amron asked in confusion. Her voice was soft, as if she was laughing at my overestimating myself. The most important thing for a person is to have self-awareness. Your grades can get you into a good university with some effort, but compared with Qingqie, there's still a big gap. Participating will only waste your time, or do you just want to attract someone's attention? She glanced at Shen Qingqie, who was listening attentively to her, and the meaning in her words was obvious. How could she be so sure that I couldn't do it? In the previous life, I didn't participate because I didn't want to compete with Shen Qingqie for the quota. His family was in a difficult situation. If he could be recommended for admission, he could have more time to work and earn his college living expenses. Who would have thought that after he was recommended, he came to school every day to waste time, just to take one more look at Sue Amron? Thinking of this, I said calmly, "What does it have to do with you? Is this something that a person at the bottom of the class like you should consider?" Sue Amron's eyes instantly turned red. Seeing his beloved being bullied, Shen Qingqie, who had been silent, suddenly spoke up, apologized to Amron quickly. "She kindly advised you, don't be so ungrateful. Also, if you want to attract my attention, there's no need to use such a ridiculous method, playing with your future." Byran, don't be so naive. He was really out of his mind. I didn't bother to pay attention to him and raised my hand to signal the head teacher, who was watching the show. "Teacher, I want to change my seat. There are dogs barking around, and it's affecting my study." Shen Qingqie's face darkened, and he stared at me coldly. The head teacher was a bit puzzled, but he still agreed. After class, I moved to the seat beside Shan Yan. He had always occupied the last row to sleep, and no one dared to make noise in this area. It was very quiet, and I was quite satisfied. As I was tidying up my things, out of the corner of my eye, I saw Sue Amron leaning slightly backward, with her long black hair scattered on Shen Qingqie's desk. The young man lowered his eyes and looked at it quietly. After a while, His fingertips moved slightly, and he gently picked up a strand of her long hair. With restraint and piety, I rolled my eyes. On the first night of our marriage, he ran to sleep in the guest room, because my hair had fallen onto his pillow. He thought it was disgusting. Was I disgusting? Did he really think that his white moonlight was some kind of pure and clean saint? 7. Without Xinxingxia, I had an unexpectedly pleasant day. After school, the head teacher asked me to stay and help him grade papers for a while. It was almost dark when I got to the residential area. A few ants walking their dogs in front were chatting as they walked. Have you heard? The crazy man in building 3 just now was reported by his son and taken to a mental hospital because he beat his son too severely. I went to see it. It's really a sin. That child looks so well behaved. How could he bear to beat him? I stopped in my tracks. My family lived in building 3, and that crazy man was exactly Xinxingqia's father. In the previous life, he often went crazy and beat Xinxingqia, leaving him bruised and battered all over. I always kept a small first aid kit under my desk to treat his wounds. It wasn't that I hadn't offered to call the police for him, but he thought I was meddling in his business. It seemed that in this life, he chose not to endure it anymore. Not far away, I saw Xinxingqia curled up on the bench. There was bright red blood oozing from his forehead, making his face look pallid and a bit sickly. The surrounding lights flickered on and off, and the cold wind blew his messy broken hair. I unexpectedly met a pair of bewildered and helpless eyes. I averted my gaze and was about to turn around and leave expressionlessly. Ran. He called out to stop me. Then, as if he suddenly realized something, his expression returned to its usual coldness. What are you doing here? What's wrong with this guy? I thought it was unlucky and quickly quickened my pace, but he suddenly sneered. A hoarse voice came from behind me. Don't think I don't know that you're here to be a savior. You always love to offer help in a superior manner when others are in a mess. Do you think I'll like you because of that? On the contrary, I hate your hypocritical appearance the most. 8. I was stunned. After realizing what he had said, I was so angry that I trembled all over. Was this how he saw me? My love and concern for him were regarded as superior charity and hypocrisy in his eyes. Was the person I had loved for the past 10 years such a stupid guy who couldn't tell right from wrong? You're wrong. I took a deep breath and tried to make my tone calm. I'm not here to be a savior. Then I quickly stepped forward and slapped him hard across the face with my right hand. I'm here to kick someone when they're down. Bah, you ungrateful wretch. After hitting him, I gave him a fierce glare and turned around to leave, leaving Xinxingqia standing there in a daze. Since I slapped that ungrateful wretch last time, I felt much more comfortable, and even my mammary glands have felt more unobstructed. At school, we also tacitly pretended to be strangers. Occasionally, I could hear news about him and Sue Anran. He copied hundreds of pages of notes by hand for Sue Anran. He fought with the little hoodlums outside the school for Sue Anran. He rode more than 10 kilometers to buy freshly baked pastries for Sue Anran. In the past, he thought I was making a fuss when I asked him to pour me a glass of water. Sure enough, true love is different. Regarding this, my heart was as calm as still water, and I even wanted to scold him for being a fool. I didn't love Xinxingqia just because of his astonishing appearance. It was also because I admired the strong. I loved his character of being smart, sober, cold, and fragile, a beautiful, strong, and miserable persona. But now that I think about it, if I were to follow in his footsteps, I wouldn't be worse than him. So what was there to admire about the strong? I myself am strong. After leaving Xinxingqia, my life gradually got back on track. Wei Qing thought the atmosphere around Xinxingqia was too chaotic, so she also moved to the back row and pestered me to explain problems every day. After seeing the review materials I prepared for the T University's recommended admission school examination, Shan Yan didn't know what had gotten into him. He stopped sleeping and studied with Wei Qing and me. He actually improved his score by more than 100 points in the monthly exam. His parents warmly invited Wei Qing and me to have dinner at their home. During the meal, his mother kindly took my hand and wanted to adopt me as her goddaughter, but Shan Yan beside her stopped her. He put his hands in his pockets and his posture was casual. Mom, if you want to recognize a relative, there are other ways. I pretended not to understand and lowered my head to play with the puppy jumping around under the dining table. The puppy was so cute that I couldn't help but feed it a piece of chicken breast. The dog was so excited that it did 2 backflips for me. Look, even the dog knows how to be grateful, but some people don't. 9. As the exam was approaching, I started to carry out my review plan in full swing. Xinqingqie gradually faded out of my sight. The next time I ran into him was at the door of the sports equipment room. The PE teacher asked me to get the basketball needed for the class. As soon as I walked to the door of the equipment room, I saw the figure standing in front of the door. Xinqingqie hung his head, the corners of his eyes were red, and he looked like a stray dog. The door of the equipment room was half open, and the conversation between Su Anren and her friend could be clearly heard from inside. "Anren, how dare you still eat the things he gave you? His father is a crazy man, who knows if he has any viruses on him," her friend said in disgust. "Don't say that. What viruses? It's about genes. Look at his gloomy face all day long. He should have some of that old crazy man's genes, but it doesn't matter, it's just for fun." Her friend laughed boisterously. "Ha ha 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 ha, but he seems to be quite serious. I heard that he took 3 part-time jobs outside to support you. It's so funny, he's really such a suck-up, he's just a fool, he takes the bait with just a little flirting," Su Anren sneered. "By the way, don't say such things in front of him, pretend to be well-behaved. I haven't had enough fun with this little crazy dog yet." Xinqingqie's hand holding the cake trembled slightly. It must not feel good to see his white moonlight fall from the altar. "Right, it's really, he deserves it." After hearing Su Anren's words, I also figured it out. With her character, in the previous life, she might not have written a love letter to Xinqingqie at all. What she said was just to slander me and provoke Qingyi. In this life, I don't want to get involved in their messy and dramatic plot anymore. I turned around and wanted to leave, but Xinqingqie grabbed my wrist tightly. "Let go." I couldn't break free and was dragged outside by him. He pressed me against the corner like a madman. His cold eyes were now filled with hatred. "Did you spread the news about my father, Byran? Are you satisfied now? Do you like me so much that you don't hesitate to ruin my relationship with her?" I was so angry that I kicked him away. After getting along with each other day and night for 10 years, even if there was no love, there should be basic trust, but fortunately, I had long since given up hope in him. I looked at him coldly. "Xinqingqie, are you suffering from paranoia? Didn't you tell me about your father's matter yourself on the first day you transferred to our school? Like you, how can you be so thick-skinned? Su Anren is right, you really are a fool." 10. Unexpectedly, Xinqingqie didn't refute. As if some belief was collapsing inch by inch, he leaned against the wall and slowly slid down as if he had lost his strength, and finally slumped to the ground. I looked down at him, feeling an inexplicable sense of pleasure in my heart. I understood very well this feeling of watching my loved one fall apart right in front of me. After all, that was exactly how I felt when I pushed open the door of the villa. It's really a case of what goes around comes around. His messy hair fluttered in front of his eyebrows and eyes. Xinqingqie hung his head, his eyes were indifferent, his expression was numb, and he leaned against the wall without moving, like a broken piece of beautiful jade, lonely and desolate. I carefully observed his desperate expression. I even wished I could take a photo of it and take it out to laugh at when I was in a bad mood. Suddenly, the person in front of me let out a soft laugh. As he laughed, tears welled up in his eyes and streamed down his face. "Ah, is he really crazy?" I heard him murmur almost in a whisper. I was wrong, I shouldn't have. At that moment, I suddenly understood. Xinqingqie is a smart person. During this period of time, he might not have been unaware of Su Anren's abnormalities. It's just that in the 10 years of the previous life, he had poured too strong feelings into that illusory bubble. So, he had been deceiving himself all along. Now, the filter had been shattered in a cruel way. He couldn't believe it and didn't want to admit that he had sacrificed his own life for such a person. Therefore, he shifted the blame onto the innocent me. I looked at Xinqingqie with red eyes and sneered. Whether in the previous life or this life, he was still that coward. I didn't want to see his regretful and crazy appearance anymore, so I turned around and left without hesitation, leaving him crying and laughing behind. 11. I'm not as stupid as Xinqingqie. In this new life, I won't waste time on people who aren't worth it and make myself a mess. I had already persuaded my parents to invest in some future emerging industries. I also helped Wei Qing improve her grades by a large margin. Not being able to get into her dream school was a great regret for Wei Qing in the previous life. This time, she could fulfill her wish. Everything was developing in a positive direction. After that day, I heard that Xinqingqie and Su Anren had a very unpleasant quarrel, but it had nothing to do with me. The only thing related to me was that he no longer revolved around Su Anren but buried himself in his studies instead. Damn it, why is he still competing with me? after all, he had participated in this exam in the previous life and more or less remembered some of the questions. I had to put in more effort than him to beat him. Wei Qing and Xiao Yan both noticed my abnormality. But both of them tacitly didn't disturb me. On the day the exam ended, I walked out of the examination room. The sunlight spread on the road moderately, like a well-fed kitten in the afternoon, quiet and beautiful. The process of answering the questions went smoothly, and I could finally heave a sigh of relief. Xiao Yan was holding 3 cups of milk tea and waiting for me at the door with Wei Qing. He waved at me, and his broken hair was neatly blown by the oncoming breeze. Showing a natural youthful spirit, I quickened my pace to meet them. He lowered his head and handed me the milk tea. His handsome eyebrows and eyes lost their previous casualness, and he was focused and gentle. "Let's go, I'll treat you to dinner." After dinner, I accompanied them to have fun in the amusement park for the whole afternoon. I hadn't been this happy for a long time. Since I was reborn, my spirit had been tense all the time. Today, I finally felt the long-lost relaxation. As if all my troubles had disappeared, a strange feeling seeped into my blood from my pores, awakening my lifeless cells. It seemed that I had come back to life. 12. In the following days, I became the most idle one. I was sent to buy meals for Wei Qing and Xiao Yan every day. Early this morning, Wei Qing was shouting that she wanted to eat the beef noodles at the south gate of the school, so during the lunch break, I went to run errands for her without complaint. As soon as I walked out of the school gate, I passed by a familiar guy with yellow hair and heard him say, "Don't worry, baby, the guy who bullied you has been taught a good lesson by us." He led 3 or 5 lackeys and swaggered into a van. Then I remembered, this guy with yellow hair was Su Anren's gangster ex-boyfriend, and he had come to the school gate to pick up Su Anren before. I turned into the alley in confusion, but I saw Shinqingqia with blood all over his head beside the trash can. Oh, so it was him who was taught a lesson. Well done, the yellow hair gang has done a great deed. However, I'm a bit suspicious. Am I really jinxing him? Otherwise, why do I always show up on time and mock him whenever he's in a mess? I looked at Shinqingqia lying on the ground and raised my leg, preparing to step over him. But he reached out and grabbed my ankle tightly. Is he still alive? What a pity. His eyes were blurred, as if he couldn't tell the difference between dreams and reality. Ran, it's you who came to save me again. Let go. His fingers were cold and sticky, and I felt a bit disgusted, but he held on tightly, and I couldn't break free, so I bent down and pried his fingers open one by one. His eyelashes trembled slightly, and he stared at me steadily, with a disgusting look of nostalgia in his eyes. Ran, have you had enough of playing hard to get? I'll give you a chance to save me. Before, I misjudged people. It's only now that I understand that only you are truly sincere to me. Stop messing around. Let's make up. Okay. I paused in my movements. Didn't he realize that I had also been reborn? I had never deliberately hidden this. It's just that he self-righteously believed that I was still the same Byran who would accompany him for 10 years without leaving his side. All my abnormalities were just playing hard to get with him, trying to attract his attention. He's really confident. I lost my patience. Without hesitation, I stood up and stepped on the hand that he was holding my ankle with. He let out a cry of pain, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. If you don't speak properly, don't blame me for not acting like a decent person. I slowly ground his well-defined fingers and said indifferently, Shinqingqia, after being reborn, why haven't you made any progress at all? His pupils suddenly constricted, and his face became even paler. Ran, wait a moment, you also. I didn't want to listen anymore. I released my foot and turned around to leave. 13. In the evening, I helped the head teacher grade homework as usual. It was raining when I got home. The raindrops were fine and dense, and there was a fishy and damp smell in the air that lingered, making me feel a bit fidgety. I was about to enter the corridor when I suddenly saw a figure standing in front of my window. My family lived on the first floor. That person didn't have an umbrella and just stood there, looking in the direction of my home without moving. I summoned up my courage and walked closer to take a look. It was Shinqingqia. Damn it. Through the rain curtain, I saw the deep sadness in his eyes that couldn't be dissolved. When he saw me coming back, he instinctively wanted to get closer, but he was hurt by my disgusted attitude and stood there in a daze. Ran, I'm sorry. The raindrops fell on him one by one, as if they were going to bend his pride, after such a long time. I finally waited for an apology, but I didn't care anymore. I gripped the handle of my umbrella tightly. Got it. Now get lost. He didn't move. He just stood there quietly. His eyes were very red. When I stood on the rooftop, I felt completely hopeless. thinking I had lost my one true love forever, but after I jumped, the only thing left in my mind was you. You were still at home waiting for me to have dinner. Sue Anran was just an obsession from my youth. Ran, the person I truly love is you. I sneered. Love me? Is this love? You went to find Sue Anran as soon as you were reborn. You bought so many cakes for Sue Anran, but on my birthday, you wouldn't even cook me a bowl of noodles. Is this what you call love? I spoke calmly, but Shen Qingqia's face grew paler and paler. You're so despicable. Perhaps people can be trapped by things they couldn't have in their youth their entire lives, but that's no excuse for him to hurt me. Shen Qingqia closed his eyes in despair, his voice choking in his throat. Ran, I know you hate me, but we've been together for 10 years, give me another chance, let's start over, okay? I took a deep breath, trying to calm my emotions, but the anger and grievances that had been pent up for so long in my past life surged up together. Why should I give you a chance? Do you deserve it? I stared at him viciously. The thing I regret most is wasting 10 years of my youth on you, when you painted portraits of her all over the wall. Did you ever consider how I felt when you made a will to donate all your property and when you jumped off the building for your white moonlight? Did you ever think about what would happen to me and our child? Shen Qingqia's head hung lower and lower, but when he heard the last sentence, he suddenly looked up at me. Child? Do we have a child? Is it a boy or a girl? How old is the baby? He took a step forward, looking flustered yet overjoyed, like a man who had just learned he was going to be a father. A moment later, he seemed to realize something, and the smile on his lips froze. I don't know, I said indifferently, my words brutally cold. I was only 1 month pregnant when I was killed by your white moonlight and your good friend. In fact, I wasn't sure if I had really died. I just said it to hurt him. Shen Qingqia finally couldn't hold on anymore. He crouched down, covering his face with both hands, and let out suppressed sobs. I stepped past him and entered the house, looking at Shen Qingqia, who was crying his heart out outside the window. I felt a sense of satisfaction. Good, I shouldn't be the only one suffering. 14. Shen Qingqia took a leave of absence from school, and I was successfully recommended for admission. It was truly a double celebration. After the news of my recommendation came out, Wei Qing wanted to go and show off to Shen Qingqia, but she couldn't find him anywhere. With all her pent-up energy, she threw herself into her studies, and her grades skyrocketed. 100 days of hard work turned her dream school into a safety net option. After being recommended, I rarely went to school. I only occasionally sent study materials to Wei Qing and Shan Yan. Shan Yan said he wanted to go to T University with me and have a campus romance, but getting into T University isn't that easy. Even so, I was touched to see someone working hard to catch up with me. So I gave him a full set of the 5-3 review materials. Shan Yan gritted his teeth. By Ran, without looking up, I threw out 10 sets of mock exam papers. What's wrong? Give me a few more. This isn't enough. 15. I heard news about Shen Qingqia again a few months later. He stabbed Sue Anran and Qingyi 8 times each, but none of the wounds were fatal. Both of them were in the ICU and remained unconscious. The police searched for him for 3 days, but they couldn't find him, neither alive nor dead. All the classmates and teachers were shocked by his cruelty. Only I knew that deep down, he was a madman. The police questioned his teachers and classmates. I was among them. When I got home from the police station and took out my key to open the door, suddenly, a towel with a pungent smell covered my mouth and nose. I lost consciousness instantly. When I woke up, I found myself on the rooftop of an abandoned building, my hands tied tightly to a chair. Shen Qingqia, dressed in a suit, stood at the edge of the building with his back to me, as if lost in thought. The cold wind blew, swirling up the fallen leaves and gravel on the ground. Despair welled up inside me. Sensing the movement behind him, Shen Qingqia turned around and calmly lit the candles on the table. Only then did I notice that the table was filled with my favorite dishes. Shen Qingqia sat beside me. Half of his delicate face was illuminated a scarlet by the candlelight, while the other half was hidden in the darkness. What on earth was he up to? What do you want? I stared at him coldly. The corners of his lips curled into a gentle smile, and there was a hint of madness hidden in his calm eyes. Ran, have you forgotten? I still owe you a wedding anniversary celebration. What a ridiculous anniversary. He's completely crazy. I looked at him steadily. Let me go home. You won't be able to hide with me for long. As if he didn't hear me, he served me a bowl of soup. This is our first anniversary celebration. I made your favorite pork rib soup. Have a taste. I couldn't stand it anymore and interrupted him impatiently. Shen Qingqia, Have you lost your memory? Do you need me to remind you?" His hand frozen mid-air. "On our first anniversary, you borrowed a camera to confess your love to Sue Anran. You abandoned your wife and child and jumped off the 18th floor for her, hoping to meet her again in the sea of stars. Remember now?" My tone was full of mockery, and Shinqingqia's eyes instantly welled up with tears. He pulled me into his arms, pressing his cheek against the side of my neck, coaxing me like a child. "Let's have a good time today. Let's not talk about that, okay?" After all those years together, he knew exactly how to soothe my anger. In the past, as long as he acted cute, I would soften and give in, but now, I just felt disgusted. I kicked the dining table, the wine bottle toppled over, and dark red liquid spilled all over him. He ignored it and didn't get angry. Instead, he gently stroked my cheek, looking at me intently, as if he wanted to engrave this moment in his memory forever. "We don't have much time left, Ran." He smiled, his dark pupils as calm as the night sky. "What time?" I felt uneasy and instinctively moved away from him. "Don't be afraid, I won't hurt you again." He noticed my movement, his tone bitter. I didn't believe him at all. Suddenly, the sound of police sirens came from a distance. I immediately felt relieved. When being questioned at the police station, I volunteered to have a locator installed on me. I went home alone to lure Shinqingqia out. He bent down and kissed my forehead. As if saying a final goodbye, I heard him sigh. Ran, how did we end up like this?" It was all his fault. If he hadn't been obsessed with Sue Anran and had taken responsibility from the start, maybe we would have been a happy family of 3 by now. Unfortunately, there are no what-ifs. Thankfully, there are no what-ifs. A blinding white light suddenly shone on the rooftop, and I squinted my eyes. The next second, several red dots appeared on Shinqingqia. He stood up, looking at me reluctantly, and took step after step backward. I looked up and met his gaze. There was no surprise in his eyes. Instead, he looked almost relieved. In that instant, I felt a chill run down my spine. I suddenly realized, he knew this was a trap I had set, and he had no intention of escaping at all. When he reached the edge of the building, Shinqingqia stopped. He gave me a reassuring smile, calm yet despairing. Ran. I'll atone for my sins with my life. How dare he? My eyes were filled with rage. Shinqingqia, stop, how could he get away so easily? I didn't want him to be free like this. He had hurt me and others. He should spend the rest of his life repenting in prison. Ran, I love you. The cool wind on the rooftop carried his soft words and ruffled his hair. Then he leaned backward. For a moment, it was as if I had returned to that summer afternoon. The air was hot and humid. The walls of the teaching building were old and peeling. The young man tilted his head to look at me under the creaking fan, his ears red, his voice clear and soft. Ran, do you like me? 10 years ago, he transferred to our school and became my desk mate. The young man had skin as white as jade and features as beautiful as a painting, but his gaze towards me was full of impatience. After the college entrance examination, we went our separate ways. Wei Qing did well in the exam and went to S University in the neighboring city. We would occasionally get together during long vacations. Shan Yan was a few dozen points short of the admission score for T University. Although he could still enter a good university, he chose to repeat his senior year of high school. I sent him a full set of the new 5-3 review materials. He was so angry that he didn't reply to me for 3 days. Qing Yi and Sue Anran were so severely injured that they became vegetative. No one knew when they would wake up, so naturally, they didn't take the college entrance examination. My university life was busy and fulfilling. I tried many new things that I hadn't experienced in my past life. I wasn't more outstanding than in my past life, but I was happy. After all, happiness is the most precious and magical ability. Although my past life was difficult and painful, it didn't stop me from falling in love with the world again. At the start of the second year, as a club president, I went to welcome the freshmen. Several freshmen bravely came to add me on WeChat, but I smiled and declined them one by one. A familiar voice rang out, "You guys are no good, watch me." I looked up. In the sunlight, the young man leaned lazily on his suitcase, his gaze meeting mine across the crowd. "Senior, do you want to date? My dog can do backflips." Story 2. I had been secretly in love with my childhood friend for 10 years. After one reckless night, he despised me for 10 years. He finally got his wish when he died in a car accident, soaring away with his true love. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back on that ambiguous, drunken night. I grabbed my belongings and fled, but then I heard that Shen Shui, who had always been proud, had turned Hawaii City upside down searching for his childhood sweetheart. I had actually been reborn. Outside the house, neon lights flickered. Inside, the air was scorching hot. I pinched the palm of my hand hard. It hurt. It wasn't a dream. Oh, but that's not right. I was already dead. Even if it wasn't a dream, I shouldn't have been able to feel pain. Yang, the man's hoarse voice echoed in my ear. My whole body shuddered. I was not only reborn but also back on that fateful night. Yang. Shinshua held my chin and kissed me passionately. I turned my face away, and his hot breath landed on my neck. No, that wasn't it. He wasn't calling Yang, but Yang, Qin Wei's nickname. In my past life, I thought he had finally noticed me. Overjoyed, I spent a wild night with him. Only later did I realize that Shinshua had always loved Qin Wei. He was just drunk and mistook me for her. Shinshua, sober up. I pushed him away forcefully. I had been secretly in love with him for 10 years. After that night, however, he hated me for 10 years. Fortunately, this time, nothing had happened yet. Shinshua paused, then looked down at me. There was no light in the room, but the light from outside was bright. He was drunk but still had a fair complexion and calm eyes, so much so that in my past life, I thought he was sober. Yang. He seemed to finally see my face clearly, his voice tinged with a strange tone, but the next second, his expression turned murky and complex. He urgently cupped my face and kissed me again. I raised my knee and kicked, pushing him away with all my might. I rushed out the door, too, breathing the cold air outside. I took out my phone and checked the time over and over. I had to be sure. I really had been reborn. I rushed home quickly, memories of my past life flooding back. Shinshua and I were childhood friends, our families close. That night, it was supposed to be Aunt Shin who called me, saying Shinshua wasn't answering his phone and asked me to check on him. I always knew the passcode to Shinshua's apartment. I managed to open the door and encountered the drunken man. I had loved Shinshua for many years. His repeated calls of Yang were something I couldn't resist. I didn't return home all night, and the next morning, both our parents arrived to find Shinshua and me lying on the same bed. Our clothes were strewn all over the floor. Both families had intentions of matching us together, and this incident was just what they wanted. Just as I was about to graduate from college, our wedding plans were set. I was overjoyed during that time. After years of secret affection, to finally achieve this felt like reaching the heavens. I thought Shinzhou was happy too. He always had a cool demeanor, rarely showing his emotions outwardly, but he was there with me, taking wedding photos, choosing the engagement ring, never once saying no. Until our wedding day, a beautifully made-up girl cried inconsolably in the audience. Everyone thought Shinzhou was kissing me, but he was actually gritting his teeth whispering in my ear, "Jiangyang, are you satisfied with this outcome?" Before this, I didn't know Qin Wei. Shinzhou was 2 grades above me. We were in the same city but not the same university. I had never heard about him liking any girl, nor had I heard about him being in a relationship. Shinzhou gave me an unforgettable wedding night. He accused me of drugging him that night. He furiously claimed it was all intentionally planned by me. "Jiangyang, your malice is chilling, your affection is disgusting. You so wanted to be with me. I'll let you have it. You've ruined my happiness. You'll never find happiness in this lifetime." He slammed the door and left, starting a decade of deep-seated hatred towards me. I slapped my cheeks hard, took a deep breath, and then went upstairs. "Yang, you're back so soon. Is little Zhou okay?" Hearing my mother's voice and seeing my father reading in the living room, my nose tingled with emotion. It felt good. It was the scene I missed the most. For many years after marrying Shinzhou, I dared not return home. Yang, I mumbled an He's fine. He really was fine. On the way back, I had called an ambulance for him, whether I drugged him, and what kind of drug. Let the doctors figure it out. Yang, what does this line say? Help Dad look. Suppressing the unease in my heart, I pretended everything was fine and joked around with my parents for a while before returning to my room. As soon as I entered, I saw the desk covered with photos of me and Shinzhou from our childhood to adulthood. I opened the drawer, and there lay the diary, unharmed. Shinzhou had read aloud my expressions of love for him right in front of me. I still vividly remember him tearing the pages one by one. My youthful feelings scattered all over. He sat at this desk, his face mocking and disdainful. "Since you were 10, you wanted to claim me as your own. Jiangyang, you really are a freak." Indeed, who else but a freak could do such things? What grave sin had I committed to deserve him calling a 10-year-old child's innocent love freakish? It was not until Qin Wei was about to go abroad that I learned the full story. In a private tea house, Qin Wei was dignified and composed. Far different from how she had kneeled and wept at the wedding. "I'm getting married now, Miss Jiang. Can those videos be deleted?" I was bewildered. She handed me her phone with a smile. On the screen was a chat history. The profile picture and nickname were me. "If you're smart, you'll leave Shenzhou early. He and I are childhood sweethearts, betrothed from a young age. Have you no shame? If you don't leave, it doesn't matter. I'll post the videos on the school forum. Let's see who actually belongs with Shenzhou. Ruining myself. Does it matter? Without him, nothing matters." I opened the video. It was from that night of tangled emotions. Almost subconsciously, I pulled out my phone. Qin Wei was indeed in my contacts list, but our conversation history was blank. Qin Wei laughed again. "Actually, it was I who kindly informed Shen's mother that Zhou was drunk and needed care. I didn't expect Miss Jiang to repay us this way." Her words carried a tone of reproach, but her eyes couldn't hide the triumph. "For the sake of Zhou's reputation and future, I had to painfully break up with him. Miss Jiang, you must be pleased." The words she uttered and her expression were so disconnected, it took me a moment to realize she was guarding against me recording her, yet she couldn't help but try to flaunt her power. She twirled the large diamond ring on her middle finger. It wasn't until she was about to leave that she lowered her voice and showed her true colors. "Shen's mother is against me being with Zhou. She looks down on me, convinced that you and Zhou are a better match. Too bad." Qin Wei stood up, leaning close to whisper in my ear. "Jiang Yang, you won't have good days ahead. In this lifetime, Shenzhou will never forget me." Qin Wei was right. Shenzhou and I had no good days. I finally understood why he hated me so much, but it had been 3 years since then. In these 3 years, our relationship had completely fallen apart. He didn't trust me 3 years ago, and 3 years later, he didn't even want to hear my voice. I asked him to let go, but he wouldn't. I wanted a divorce, but he refused. He used my parents' company as leverage, determined to bind me to him, forcing me to face his cold indifference forever. I thought that was it between us, from childhood sweethearts to bitter adversaries. It was both sad and ironic, but Qin Wei's second statement was also true. Shenzhou couldn't forget her. In the 9th year of our marriage, Qin Wei returned to the country after her divorce. Shenzhou and she were seen entering and leaving places together, often photographed hand in hand, sharing passionate kisses. How wonderful! I could finally be free. I specifically chose Qin Wei's birthday to call Shenzhou a divorce agreement. What better birthday gift for Qin Wei? Shenzhou, however, was silent for a long time. "Come here, let's talk face to face." Just when I thought he was going to refuse again, he spoke. I looked at the heavy snow outside. "I have no other demands. I only want my parents' company. Everything that's yours. I won't take a cent. After today, we won't discuss this again." Then he coldly hung up the phone. I knew he had no affection left for me. Holding the agreement, I left the house. But the snow was too heavy that day, so heavy that when I braked, the tires skidded. Ahead was an elementary school letting out. I sharply turned the steering wheel, and the car flipped. I was so unwilling. To the end, I remained Shenzhou's wife. Yang Yang, my phone vibrated. It was a message from Shenzhou. Was this after I went to the hospital and came to? I didn't reply to him, checking my contacts list. Sure enough, Qin Wei was there at this time. I can't even remember when I added her as a friend. It's all a blur. "Yan Yan, where are you?" Another message from Shenzhou popped up. I frowned. Although his mother was trying to break us up, he still hadn't completely split from Qin Wei. Why look for me instead of Qin Wei now that he's sober? I exited the chat and noticed numerous unread messages. School had just restarted for my final year, and there were all sorts of messages in the grade and class groups. "Xia Yu, Yan Yan. Have you packed your bags? Don't be late tomorrow." I was stunned for a few minutes before snapping out of it. In my previous life, at this time, I had planned to go job hunting in Huicheng with Xia Yu, but after that incident happened, I thought I ended up with Shenzhou and wanted to stay in the city, so I cancelled the trip to Huicheng. I quickly replied to Xia Yu, "Yu, how about we change our plans a bit?" Xia Yu, me. "Let's go to Jing City instead." Xia Yu, Jing City. Xia Yu is my best friend. As I was thinking about how to explain, she sent another message. "Sounds great. I'd follow Yan Yan anywhere without question." I couldn't help but smile. After discussing a bit more, I got up to repack my luggage. When I finished, I threw the group photo on the desk, the diary in the drawer, and even my SIM card into the trash bin. I went to Jing City. Aside from Xia Yu, no one knew. Even my parents thought I went to Huicheng. Qin Wei's scheming was only half done. And unlike my previous life, I didn't get involved this time. I wasn't sure what other tricks she might pull. A decade of entanglements, a decade of love and hate, whether it's Shenzhou or Qin Wei. I didn't want any more drama with them this time. But a month after arriving in Jing City, Xia Yu whispered mysteriously to me, "Shenzhou has been looking everywhere for you. He's almost turned Huicheng upside down. He's looking for me." Why? That last push I gave him the other night was quite forceful. His head hit the wall hard, probably quite badly. Could he still hold a grudge? Forget him. I once thought I understood him, thought what we had was extraordinary. It was all just a fragile illusion. In the second month in Jing City, Xia Yu found a job smoothly, while I was still dragging my feet. "Yen Yen, you didn't trick me into coming here just because you actually don't want to stay in Jing City, did you?" "Of course not." The third month, I finally got the news I had been waiting for. A junior from high school told me he had a project that was short on funds and asked if I was interested in investing. In my previous life, I had just waited to graduate and marry Shenzhou, and when I heard about this opportunity in Jing City, I immediately rejected it. But that junior later became very successful. In 10 years, he built $1 billion empire from scratch. This time, I certainly wouldn't miss out again. I mobilized all the funds I could access, even borrowed some from my parents, and joined Xia Lin's team. One of my biggest mistakes in my previous life was giving up my career after getting married. Shenzhou had made his stance clear, yet I still harbored hopes. I thought there was a misunderstanding between us. I believed that if I did well enough, the bond we had since childhood, there's no hurdle too difficult to overcome. After waking up to reality 2 years later, not only would there be no place for me in his Shen family business, but even my parents' small company wouldn't have room for me to get involved. "Little Jiang, how do I look in this outfit?" Xia Lin is trying on a suit for a gathering in the industry tonight. I glance at him, speechless. Having lived twice, I've been called Yang Yang and Jiang Jiang, and those younger than me call me Sister Jiang or Sister Yang Yang, but he calls me Little Jiang. "You look a bit like a waiter." Xia Lin goes to change. "Makes your legs look short." Xia Lin changes again. "Looks old-fashioned." Xia Lin continues changing. By the fifth outfit, I couldn't help but laugh. I stopped teasing him. "Very nice, very handsome, you'll outshine everyone." Beaming with pride, Xia Lin goes to pay the bill. It's no wonder he's successful, smart, good-tempered, never acts superior. He's refreshing to be around. In the car, we review the list of attendees for the evening again. Connections are crucial for a startup. These gatherings are great opportunities to expand our network. But I never expected to run into Shenzhou here. This is my 6th month in Beijing, also my 6th month since being reborn. After reconnecting with Xia Lin, I stopped using all social media and didn't contact any old friends. Of course, I also didn't return to my original city. Even my graduation procedures were handled by Xia Yu on my behalf. Actually, I noticed Shenzhou not long after entering. He and Qin Wei stood together, a handsome couple, well-matched. "Do you know them?" Xia Lin asks me quietly. I'm momentarily at a loss for words. I'm just surprised, that's all. The Shen family has always been in traditional industries and didn't get involved in the gaming industry in my past life. Shenzhou shouldn't be here. But then, something even more unexpected happens. Shenzhou seems to notice our gaze and looks up. Our eyes meet from afar, and his eyes suddenly redden. "Yang Yang." Almost immediately, he pulls his arm away from Qin Wei and strides towards me. I don't understand why he's so emotional. He's usually reserved and indifferent. He only shows his undisguised disgust when he mocks me with a smile. Shenzhou comes over to grab my hand. Instinctively, I step back, and Xia Lin steps forward to shield me. And who might this be? It seems only then does Shenzhou notice Xia Lin. He looks at him, then back at me. His lips twitch but he says nothing. "Ajua." Qin Wei quickly follows Shenzhou, immediately taking his arm again. Is it Yang Yang?" "Yes, I think it is, Ajua." Qin Wei seems excited. "She's so beautiful, even more than the photos in your phone." "Hello, Miss Jiang, I'm Qin Wei." She extends her hand with a genuine smile. "Xiaoming, your name is somewhat similar to Yang Yang. Ajua often mentions you to me." I glance briefly at her still smooth fingers. I'm not particularly keen on shaking her hand. "Long time no see." I smile at Shenzhou and introduce the person next to me. "This is Xia Lin, the founder of Huayang Games, Mr. Xia. This is President Shen of Fingyu Group." Qin Wei feels ignored and retracts her hand in disappointment. Neither of the men seems interested in shaking hands either. Xiaolin is quite shrewd. Probably already sensing something amiss in the air, he says with a chuckling smile, "Is that all? I and Yang, I and President Shen are also alumni," I say with a smile, taking over Xinshua's words. "You could also call President Shen Sr. like me." Xinshua's expression turns sour, it visibly darkens. He stares at me unblinkingly. "Alumni, senior," he scoffs lightly, "you call this senior." But somehow he seems a bit off. As Xiaolin pours me a drink, he chuckles softly. His girlfriend is right beside him, and yet he glares at me. It's as if I stole his wife. I glance at Xinshua, who is indeed leaning against the rest area, swinging his glass and staring at us from afar. After that brief confrontation, I quickly leave with Xiaolin. Tonight, the people I need to meet clearly aren't Xinshua. There's no need to waste time on him. I might as well show him for real. Xiaolin boldly wraps his arm around my waist. Xinshua's gaze sharpens. And he sets down his glass, about to stand up. Qinwei holds him back. She tugs at his sleeve and whispers something to him. Xinshua's face softens, and he casually pulls out a tissue to wipe the corner of her mouth. Xiaolin, busy watching the pot while eating from the bowl. "What a dog thing. That should be President Jiang of the Bronze World over there. Let's go meet him." I pull Xiaolin towards the other side, until the banquet ends. Xinshua doesn't approach us again. He and Qinwei leave early, but the inevitable always catches up. That night, when I return, Xinshua is waiting at the apartment doorway where I rent with Xiaoyu. The autumn in Jing City arrives early. On a cool breezy night at the end of August, Xinshua leans against a corner, a cigarette in hand, its ember flickering in the wind. I send a message to Xiaoyu and walk straight over. "Aren't you avoiding me anymore?" Xinshua's voice is a bit hoarse. "I'm not avoiding you, that's the truth. I simply didn't want to deal with him, not that I was hiding on purpose." "Why are you looking for me?" I ask. Xinshua pauses slightly with the cigarette in his hand, crushes the butt against the wall, and stands up to approach. I subtly step back. "Let's talk in the car." Xinshua's car is parked downstairs. I noticed it when I got out of Xiaolin's car. I deliberately don't sit in the girlfriend-exclusive passenger seat and open the rear door instead, seeing me sit in the back. Xinshua closes the half-open driver's door and also moves to the back. I have to shift towards the door a bit. The space inside the car isn't cramped, but the atmosphere is somewhat stifling. After a long silence, Xinshua sighs. Yang, I went to your house, but your uncle and aunt wouldn't tell me where you went." "I went to your room." Did you throw away our photo together? And in your desk, I remember there were many diaries." "You also." I give a low chuckle. He gazed at Xinzhou intently. "Why do you think I threw those things away? Don't you know, being granted a second chance, I thought it was divine favor towards me. I never realized that I wasn't the only one blessed by fate." It's embarrassing to admit, but even after 10 years, I still remember what Xinzhou looked like at 23. At 23, Xinzhou disliked wearing suits, but if he did, he would opt for a stylish ash gray. At 23, he wasn't fond of red wine, preferring the fancier, more stimulating cocktails, and Xinzhou didn't smoke at 23. At that age, he was aloof, quiet, yet bold and unrestrained. I loved him so passionately back then that a few words at a banquet were all I needed to recognize him. The man before me isn't the 23-year-old him. Xinzhou was also looking at me. The car's light was off, only the street lights casting shadows inside. In the dim light, his eyes shifted through expressions: surprise, pain, joy, regret, all blending into an indistinct haze. "Certainly, the last thing I want is clarity, Yang. I knew you would. Please don't call me that." I looked at him coldly. "Mr. Shen, our current relationship only warrants the titles of alumni and senior." Xinshua's eyes reddened suddenly, just as they did when he first met me. Yang, I know you've been wronged. That day, with the heavy snow, I was blinded by anger and insisted that you come to talk in person. I didn't really want to break up with you then." "Please don't bring up past lives," I interrupted him. "Xinshua, it's not easy to start over. From now on, let's go our separate ways. You marry the one you love, and I'll follow my own path. Please don't come looking for me again." Yang, don't say things you'll regret." Xinshua grabbed my hand. "You said it's not easy to start over. Didn't you always tell me to let go? In our past life, I owed you once, and you owed me once. We're even now. This life, you've realized your mistake. And what are you saying?" I almost doubted my own ears. "Realized my mistake." Yang, I was really happy you called the ambulance for me." Shinjua's chin slightly lifted, his gaze fixed on my face. It seemed sincere and straightforward. The affection we've shared since childhood shouldn't be marred by such vile means. Enough. I pulled my hand away. Shinjua, you are simply beyond help. I got out of the car and slammed the door. I never expected Shinjua to know the truth. After I died, my soul wandered for a while, floating up and down, sometimes conscious, sometimes not, but I saw it with my own eyes. Shinjua proposing to Qinwei, the diamond ring was even bigger than the one Qinwei had. And the scene was more lively than the wedding he and I had. At that moment, my soul completely dissipated. Shinjua truly loves Qinwei, how could he bear to doubt her? But I didn't expect that when I pushed him away, his only reaction would be that I had realized my mistake. Indeed, I had said I didn't for so many years, and starting over, he still chose not to believe a single word. My phone vibrated. Xiaolin sent me a link, latest beta version, get on board, me. Right away, I must be crazy. Spending another minute on this matter is a disrespect to the billions involved, but clearly, I wasn't the only one eyeing that billion. In the next 10 years, while traditional industries declined, the gaming industry soared, especially mobile games, as smartphones continued to evolve. As someone who had been reborn, it was only natural for Shinjua to eye this opportunity, so I often ran into Shinjua in the city. He didn't bother me. But somehow he got my phone number and occasionally sent me messages, like now, stay away from Xiaolin, he doesn't have good intentions towards you. Xiaolin was sitting right next to me when I read this message. I let out a cold laugh. He's trying to be the good guy now. I shifted, sitting closer to me. He even put his arm around my shoulder. This was a promotional event for a new mobile game. There were quite a few investors who had come. I elbowed Xiaolin. Instead, he leaned in close to my ear. Little Jiangzi, how about we really get together and drive him mad? Me, President Xia, stop being so childish. Who says I'm being childish? I've been an adult for a while now. Before he could finish his sentence, someone forcefully pulled me up by the hand and started dragging me out. 18, Jiangyang, can't you hear what I'm saying anymore? Shinzhou looked very angry, even more so than when he tore up my diary years ago, but he quickly calmed down. His gaze was a mix of helplessness and sorrow. Yang, he steadied my shoulders. I know you resent me for using your parents' company to manipulate you, but now, I just want to carve out my own path. My gaming company is nearly ready, and I'll soon hand over full control to you. Okay, quit your job at Huayang, and I prepared the villa in Lanshan for you. It's all set up according to your preferences. Yang, let's not miss out on each other again in this lifetime. It took me a moment to grasp his intention. Was he thinking about reconciling with me? Perhaps the sarcasm in my eyes was too intense. As Shinzhou subdued his emotions, he sighed. Yang, I know you're still angry with me. You don't know what happened after you passed away. Shinzhou reached out to touch my cheek, his eyes beginning to redden. Can you give me some more time? Just a little more time for me to sort things out. After all, we owe Qinwei. I thought I was prepared, mentally, from last time, but hearing his last words, I couldn't help but laugh. Yes, we owe Qinwei a lot. I brushed off Shinzhou's hand and looked up at him. So, you go and repay it, with your lifetime, for lifetimes to come, and never look back. Yang, I turned and walked away. Yang, wait a bit longer, Shinzhou said firmly from behind. I will give you an explanation. 19, Shinzhou didn't show up again. Xiaoyu said that he took Qinwei on a world tour. Qinwei's social media was filled with happy posts every day. As long as he wasn't in Jing City, I was happy to have some peace. After nearly half a year of exploration, our first mobile game finally took shape. Honestly, this was the first time in 2 lifetimes that I was so focused on something. Xiaolin might be a bit erratic normally, but he was extremely serious when it came to work. The entire Huayang team was young and vibrant. Being with them often made me feel like I was just a recent college graduate. It didn't feel like I had lived those extra 10 grueling years. Jiang Bao, play it again. Are you sure this version is really fun? I must say, young people have a lot of ideas. Now, at the company, they call me Little Jiangzi, Little Yangzi, Jiang Bao, Yang Bao, all sorts of names. It's quite fun. I nodded earnestly. Actually, I wasn't much into games before. It was all Xiaolin's influence. I've added a few skins. I'll integrate with the platform today. Let's go with this version. After sending off the final version, a young designer patted my shoulder. Jiang Bao, good luck. Today, I took the game to interface with the platform. If all goes well, this game could be online very soon. I grabbed my computer and sent a message to Xiaolin. At such an important time, he was certainly going as well. However, since he was still a student, we arranged to meet outside the platform company's office. Due to the psychological trauma from a car accident in my past life, I didn't drive. Sitting on the subway, I actually felt somewhat nervous. I only knew that Flower Style later became one of the leading mobile game giants, comparable to that famous Penguin company, but I was not sure how smoothly their start was. This project was the result of over half a year's hard work from the whole team, and naturally, I hoped it would be a smashing success, yet unexpectedly. Before I even reached my destination, just as I exited the subway, I encountered a roadblock. Shenzhou's game company, which Qin Wei also had a hand in, operates within the same industry, where there are only a handful of platforms. It wasn't difficult for her to find out about my itinerary. She didn't seem as carefree and joyful as Xiaoyu had described. At least, she seemed far less arrogant than when she used to flaunt her diamond ring in front of me. I glanced at her briefly, then looked away, intending to ignore her. But obviously, she was here for me. Jiang Yang, you've won. You must be very happy, right? I had no idea what she was talking about. I quickened my pace, but she followed close behind. Jiang Yang, what makes you better than me? You're just from a moderately well-off family. Your parents own a small company. Isn't it just because you knew Shenzhou a few years earlier that you've been flattering him all along? Jiang Yang, are you playing hard to get with Shenzhou? I glanced at my watch, not wanting to engage in conversation with her. The two old folks from Shen's family are completely charmed by you. They only recognize you. Now even Shenzhou is on your side. Qin Wei suddenly grabbed my wrist. Jiang Yang, stop pretending to be so aloof and indifferent. Your feelings for Shenzhou, you think I can't see them? Miss Qin, I'm not familiar with you. I pulled away from her. Whatever issues you have with Shenzhou, please discuss them with him directly. We're not familiar. So, you're close with Shenzhou. It was me who dated Shenzhou first. You're the third party. I clenched my teeth and refused to argue with her. Just one more street crossing, and Xiaolin was waiting for me on the other side. But then Qin Wei grabbed hold of me and cried, Miss Jiang, Shenzhou wants to break up with me. No matter how much I beg him, he's determined to leave me. He clearly loved me so much. He praised me for being gentle and kind. He bought me a house and a car. He even took me on a world tour. He once said he would marry me. Now he says all these were just to compensate me. Miss Jiang, please, I can't live without him. Qin Wei already looked worn out, and her crying now made her appear even more disheveled. During the rush hour, passers-by all avoided us. I was extremely irritated, but the light hadn't turned green yet, so I had to continue enduring. Qin Wei then grabbed my laptop bag. Miss Jiang, since you're not interested in Shenzhou, you should make things clear with him. There were important things in my computer bag, and I instinctively moved back. But then, as if she suddenly discovered my weakness, Jiang Yang, you'll never be able to get rid of me. Her tone was all too familiar. I could almost see the smug smile at the corner of her mouth. She yanked hard on my laptop bag, and just as I pulled back, she let go and abruptly stepped back. Then came the loud screech of brakes. I had forgotten, Qin Wei was a gambler. In my past life, she gambled on Shenzhou believing her, letting a lie stand between me and Shenzhou for a whole 10 years. This lifetime, she was prepared to gamble with her own life, betting on Shenzhou's conscience. Shenzhou has always had a conscience towards her. He has a conscience, but this time, his calculated plan might not go as she wishes. I'm sorry, it's all my fault. I stood in front of Qin Wei's hospital bed. I shouldn't have argued with her on the roadside, shouldn't have held on when she tried to grab my computer. Oh, she wasn't trying to steal the computer. She was just emotional and grabbed my hand while talking. Xiaolin bumped me with his elbow, dissatisfied. Qin Wei was hit by a vehicle. Luckily, it was near a red light, and since we were not on the main road when we struggled, the vehicle had slowed down. The car braked in time, only breaking one of Qin Wei's ribs and a leg. The surveillance footage wasn't clear, only showing that she had a conflict with me, making it hard to tell who was right or wrong. Xiaolin, who was across the street at that time, saw everything clearly, so he was dissatisfied with my apology. He doesn't understand. In front of Shenzhou, an explanation is just making excuses. He only ever believes what he wants to believe. 10 years have been enough for me to learn my lesson. Sure enough, as soon as I voiced my apology, Qin Wei's tearful expression stiffened. and Shinjo stopped what he was about to say. Miss Chin was injured because of me. Let me stay and take care of her with you during these days. I turned to look at Shinjo. As we left, Xiaolin became even more discontent. Have you been called Jiangbao too many times, and your brain turned into a saucepan? She timed her fall perfectly. What does it have to do with you? She clearly wants to cling to Mr. Shen. Why don't you just let them be, lock it down and be done? I glanced at my wrist, which Qinwei had just reddened by pulling. Do you remember the last time we played a game and encountered an annoying ghost, always sticking to us, beat us up, ran away, and just when it mattered, popped out again to hit us? How did you say to deal with such people back then, Xiaolin? Use the ultimate move, finish them off. I nodded. Use the ultimate move, finish them off. I am very competent, working from 8 to 5, more punctual than a job. I finally understood the pleasure Qinwei felt when she did those things. It turns out making someone you dislike unhappy can be so satisfying. Ah Zhou, my leg hurts so much. Shinjo was about to get up. I held him back. She's crying from the pain. Should we call a doctor? Shinjo nodded, calling for the doctor. Ah Zhou. I'm so thirsty. Shinjo got up. I held him back. The nurse is attentive. Let her go. Ah Zhou, it's so boring lying here. Could you read to me? I got up. I'll do it. After several times, Shinjo also realized I was doing it on purpose. He even seemed somewhat happy. Yang. I've always said I would explain things to you. I've already broken up with Qinwei. After she's discharged, I will give her a sum of compensation. And then we will be even, sometimes. When it was just the two of us in the hospital room, he looked at me with eyes brimming with joy. Then we can go home together. Do you want to live in Lawn Mountain or Ping Courtyard? I've also thought about the wedding. This time I looked up. How much compensation do you plan to give her? 1 million. After all, it was our fault. The doctor said her leg. 1 million. I tugged at the corner of my lips. That's good. Sometimes Xiaolin would also come over, under the guise of work. He didn't speak, just buried his head and texted me. This filial piety between mother and son, what are you scheming? I replied, it's always calm before the storm. 24. Actually, it wasn't a big move. As the day of discharge approached, Qinwei became more anxious. I knew her original plan, except for Xiaolin, whom I had seen with my own eyes. No one would believe that someone could joke with their own life, so, like in my previous life, I became her scapegoat.